my reflection in the mirror of something standing in the corner of my room, watching me, observing me. Is it my imagination or insanity? A strange hum, a flash of light. I'm overcome, nothing but fright. Otherworldly beings taking me in the night. I'm an extraterrestrial hostage tonight. I wanna run, but I can't move. What do I do? What do I do? Where are they taking me? Where are they taking me? I'm an extraterrestrial hostage tonight. I wanna run, but I can't move. I don't feel real. I wake up in my bed. Was it just in my head? Looking at my hand, there's something there. Inside of me, I'm feeling oh so scared. Confusion and nasty fear. It wasn't just a nightmare. So loud, so bright, hypnotizing me, figures lost in time. I'm tortured, surrounding me tonight. I'm an extraterrestrial hostage tonight. I wanna run, but I can't move. What do I do? What do I do? Where are they taking me? Where are they taking me? I'm an extraterrestrial hostage tonight. I wanna run, but I can't move. I don't feel real. I wake up in my bed. Was it just in my head? Where are they taking me? I'm swelling in me. Where are they taking me? Anxiety rising. Was it just in my head? Paralyzing panic. Was it just in my head? I'm an extraterrestrial hostage tonight. I wanna run, but I can't move. What do I do? What do I do? Where are they taking me? Where are they taking me? I'm an extraterrestrial hostage tonight. I wanna run, but I can't move. I don't feel real. I wake up in my bed. Was it just in my head?
A dreaded flag, a vengeful sea. Be careful what you say. There's always someone listening. The Dutchman tossed on the sea. I swore and the devil heard me. Now we're doomed to sail the seven seas for eternity. So yo-ho, let the ocean winds blow. The line forever we must flow. We sail through them, cursed and condemned. Yo-ho, let the ocean winds blow. A sinister grin across his face said, you'll be doomed to this place. The devil heard my...
All right, folks. Welcome to Paranormal Roundtable. I'm your host, Josh Turner. This is PRT. I don't know if you can hear me. Hold on. Join us in the real reality. And the reality is, sorry for getting in so late, but by the time we got back, and I couldn't make it out to the studio. It just would have been too much time, and it's already damn near 10 o'clock, and I don't know how many people were going to get in here, and I apologize. I guess I'm just making all kinds of bad decisions. Hang on one second. We'll take the banner off here. So we're probably going to do is we'll do tonight's show tomorrow night. I know we don't usually get as big a crowd on Mondays, but we'll do that. We'll try to make that tomorrow night's show. I want to move this right here. Just move it over. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. And then I mean, whatever. Hang on one second. I'm still here, folks. I just want to mess with this while I was on the air, but I got a bunch of hats. I have like bolts on them. And here's one right here. I don't know how good it looks. We'll wear it. Ta-da! Yeah. It's a Metal Militia hat. They used to be a really popular brand when I was young, with the Metal Militia. And this month we were supposed to start possibly doing some stuff on the other channel, and yeah. Hang on one second, folks. Trying to get the camera back up. I'm sorry, Melissa says I'm sleepy. If you're sleepy, go to bed. You gotta be here on my account. You can always catch a replay.
No. There it is.
There it is. So I don't know what everybody's opinion is about the war. I got mixed feelings about it. And on the one hand, I don't like it. I don't think it's a good idea. But on the other hand, I mean, you know, I know who's behind it, and I know that what their intentions are, and their intentions are not good. They're not to help people. But if it inadvertently helps regime change there, then that's a good thing, because they definitely need a regime change. I mean, they have just, if I told you what I really feel, you know, like I feel like there's a certain element that has destabilized that region, because before the 1980s, you had Afghanistan, you had Lebanon, and you had Iran. They were all like normal countries, like normal in the way that they were not governed by Islamic extremists. And I know that sounds crazy because people are like, oh, they want to kill us. They want to blah, 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 blah. But the country that's causing this right now, they had everything to do with destabilizing those countries and bringing in Islamic extremists so that they would have an excuse. That's the truth. It's something I'm going to talk about on the Random Files this coming month. Like, why did it happen? It's not as cut and dry as like, oh, well, they had bad people in power that wanted to nuke us, so we had to go over there and deal with them. No, we have bad people that are allies, including the one that's helping us do that, and Saudi Arabia. Both of them are not good. And I'm a follower of Christ. I'm not Islamic. I'm not Jewish. So why would I have a dog in that fight if they want to kill each other? That should have been your stance too. Everybody should have been the same way. Like, that's not our problem. That's your problem. They would never have had a long, I promise you, 100%. Maybe it's an unpopular opinion because it's a lie and everybody loves lies, but they never would have had long range nuke capability. It's as simple as that. They never would have, because even China and Russia wouldn't give it to them. I mean, nobody's going to give some crazy Islamic extremist country that. When you have a regime like that, that's unstable, don't give them anything. You know, their ass, dude. You know, like, I can't stand the leadership in Iran, and I can't sit here and honestly say with a straight face that I'm upset that they're gone. I mean, I don't feel shit. They're like, oh, they got them. They knocked out their leadership. Thumbs up for that one, but we're still helping an imperialist regime. And I'm not talking about American imperialism, you know, this leftist garble. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about being really, 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 really understanding, being pilled to the point of, like, you know, who's what, who's doing what, and why they're doing it. That's something that everyone should be doing, is taking the pill and understanding what this means. When you go down the real reality rabbit hole, right? So what I was going to talk about tonight, which I think I'm going to do it tomorrow instead, there was a guy named Mark, and we have done, I think, 2 or 3 pre-records on his stuff up to this point. But he saw something that looked like an Anubis type creature come out of, like, these 2 portals. One of them was black, one of them was white, and they were facing each other. And it was in the desert. And he was working in the private sector for a foreign country. And he was basically going out of body. And he came upon a portal with something that came out of it, which may or may not have been the guardian of the portal, which looked like an Anubis. And so that's what we were going to talk about tonight. There's also a couple other things that stories that I need to go over and talk about. One of them is pretty weird. It's like these tulpa werewolf type creatures. I say tulpa. I don't know. I think they created them with their own thoughts, with their own minds. That's just my opinion. And then the other one I was going to do was this woman named Meredith, who was the real estate person. And she's the one that gave the people from San Antonio the story about the people from Donkey Lady Bridge that I ended up interviewing Martine, Gary, and Nathan about. Those guys, that they had the whole weird thing that happened Donkey Lady Bridge. And if you know, you know. And if you're on the Patreon, there's also Justin's story, and you can go back and watch it from Bigfoot in Missouri. And it gets really weird. Really weird. Like, when we get into the Alaska stuff, it's not just Bigfoot. There's Bigfoot, and then there's the tailmen and the otter people, the Kushtaka. Some people say, oh, well, they call Bigfoot the Kushtaka. No, they do not. The people from Alaska know, they definitely understand, the natives and the locals, they understand the difference between the Kushtaka, the tailmen, and the Bigfoot. Those are all different things. And so anyways, I just thought tonight we could get into a discussion, and we're going to put the link up there if anybody wants to join in. But the discussion tonight is definitely about Bigfoot, Dogman, and what else?
Bigfoot, Dogman, aliens.
Yeah, and aliens. Is that what we put?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, and the reason about the alien thing too is because I think it all ties in. And I kind of wanted to talk about, yeah, that was definitely, I forgot I told you to put that. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about was the connection between those and why there is a connection between those. I don't know how many people really understand or grasp that, and really understand and grasp what we're dealing with, on a, hold on. like I said, I don't know how many people really understand and grasp what we're dealing with when it comes to these beings. I think some people they tend to think that well, an alien is some kind of alien, you know, and that's just an alien, you know. There's nothing to it. There's nothing else but it just being some sort of being from another planet, you know. That's what an alien is. Or they think that it's some sort of like, you know, maybe at the weirdest like an interdimensional, and it looks a certain way, like a gray. That's like kind of what they think a gray looks like. Thank you, Matt Axman, for that donation. But it's Sunday, man. I had to, Matt Axman. I had to come on. Tony, I don't know if Tony's if he's around somewhere. He came back, but if you're there, Tony, you can jump on and co-host with me, or I don't care, spectate, whatever you want to do. I know Anthony wasn't feeling too good earlier, and he just went upstairs to draw the link on there. But we had a bunch of stuff happen. We could definitely use your prayers because we're having some problems. We're having some issues. And I can't say that it's not my fault, you know, part of it, because I'm facing some pretty tough decisions right now in my life, financially in particular. And I'm not going to say it's my fault. That's a weird way to put it. Like, these decisions having to be made, I should have already made a couple of them, but out of loyalty, you know, to people that I trusted, you know, and now I'm sitting here going like, I should have just done something different. You know what I mean? Like, and now I have to deal with the financial fallout. The stock market is in the toilet, and it's probably not going to get any better. So I'm not telling you what to do, but if you have money in the stock market with what's going on in Iran, 3 months ago, I argued about maybe we should take everything out, and we didn't. And so it cost us about $6,000. So that's brutal. That's really brutal. But it's still more than we started out with. So, oh well, you know, really sucks. So we're still going to get out. We didn't lose our ass. Like, we're going to get out ahead. Let's put it that way. Most people would be pretty comfortable and happy with how far ahead, but not me, because I knew better. And 3 months ago, I should have saw this coming, and I just didn't do anything. I trusted someone's judgment on it, and I didn't do it. And then another person I thought would do the right thing and financially take care of their responsibility, and they screwed us, you know, pretty much. And so now we're in the hole. Oh well. Yeah, the stock market's always a gamble, Scorp, but the problem is I know these risks and I know how to navigate these waters. And as soon as they went in to the coast of Iran, I should have pulled out. But for some reason, I thought Trump was smart enough not to do the bidding of this other country. Now, like I said, it is a good thing that there is a regime change in Iran. I support that. That's the byproduct of this. And that was the one thing that I was hoping for. And I was hoping that it would happen quickly, which it did. I was hoping that they would commit surgical strikes and take out their leadership, because maybe with these mullahs out of the way, the people of Iran can stop suffocating and actually be happy. And that's a good thing. But it does also strengthen the shithead country down there. Two of them anyway. There's two shithead countries down there that I don't think is a good thing. So there it is. I mean, you know, and the world pretty much is forced to sit back and just be like, oh, we're okay with all of this nonsense, because you have no choice. You have to eat the shit cake because, you know, they baked it, and, you know, it really sucks. And it's going to be hard for a lot of people, what's coming up. Man. But, you know, and I'm just one person trying to do what I can do. Yeah, and I guess Afghanistan and Pakistan are fighting, and that could lead to another serious problem, because I think India is going to become the buddy. the friend to this other country, and they're going to be doing some of the destabilizing for them. Just like we are right now, we're the bully. And people think, well, when you say things about that you're being, pessimistic or that you don't like your country, that's not it at all. I love my country. I just don't like the things that we do. I don't believe that we should be doing things at the behest of another country. And then the lie, but I don't, you can say whatever you want. You're never going to convince me about nuclear weapons. You're not. There were no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq other than chemicals. Some people would call those mass destruction weapons. I don't, because that's not what they are. And we didn't need to be there. And we didn't need to be there in this war. Other than if you really wanted to help the people of Iran, you could have. They could have gotten rid of those leaders, though, trust me, without doing this. We actually had spies there that told us that they didn't have nukes. And so they're going to roll out that lie. They've been saying this for 40 something years that they had nukes. They don't, they haven't. And, oh, well, it is what it is. And it doesn't matter. I still don't think that the person that Trump was running against would have been better. I just don't. I mean, I know economics, and the previous regime dug us in such an economic hole that there's no way to sit there and go, oh yeah, that would have been a better situation. And they would have just gone along with the same shit too. I promise you, they would have just did with these, because our entire political apparatus is bought and sold. And they're all being blackmailed, but because they're PDF files. Truth. I don't believe that at all. Smoky Cove, I believe it's Israel. And they'll probably shadow ban me for saying it. But I don't think Saudi is playing everybody. I think they're shitheads. I think that they are one of the worst. That's their best friend, though. They're Israel's best friend. They even had a big old celebration for one of their Israel's generals. They're just one of Israel's patsies, just like we are. But like I said, I'm not disappointed in them in the regime change of Iran. I don't have a problem with that. I think it's a long time coming. I think since 1979, suppressing people and forcing them to wear bed sheets is bullshit. I've always hated the regime of Iran. I don't think that it's, the last time around when they were bombing each other, when Israel bombed them, I didn't have a problem with that. Because if Israel would just go and do their own fighting instead of making us do it, I wouldn't give a shit. Like if they went full scale and invaded them, I would be like, cool. They could both just fall off the map for all I care. Because it's not my country, right? Really, dude? Why don't you come on the show and let's talk about it? Because you have a lot to say, and that's totally cool, man. Totally cool. Let's talk about it, dude. If you really think that that's the Toyota dealership and whatever, if you really believe that, I could definitely use a debate tonight. If you wanted to, we could talk about that. I do not agree. I do not agree. I think what happens is the low-hanging fruit comes from these people that get on these talk shows and they say silly things like, yeah, it's Qatar, it's Saudi. They go around in a big circle around the country that really is the problem. That's what I think. I really believe that. And nobody really wants to say anything about those people. For one, some people believe that they're above reproach, right? Because they're God's people, supposedly. And then they don't understand that either. And then other people actually go around it because they're afraid, and then they don't want to be labeled as anti-Semitic. But do you realize that everyone in that region is Semitic? So if you're actually anti-Semitic, you're anti-everybody in that region, which means you're anti-Turkish, you're anti-Arabic, you're anti-Bedouin, you're anti-Berber, you're anti-Kurdish, you're anti-Arab, you're anti-Jewish, you're anti-Persian. You're pretty much anti all of those people. And I'm not. I will just, I'll just tell you the absolute freaking truth of what I know to be true. And if you don't agree, you don't agree, and I won't hate you for it. But because you're not done with your education, eventually you'll figure it out. I am starting to lose patience with people who are not educated and just blurt out whatever it is that they watched on Fox or CNN, because both of those channels are cancer. And I make no bones about this. If you're on the left, you're insane. So that's my case. I am extremely conservative person. But that being said, I don't follow the bullshit that they're throwing out there. Beanie weenie, what's going on? I don't follow it. You know, they have this false narrative that's been given to us that they've created, and it's just not correct. You want to say hi, Beans? You want to say hi? You want to say hi? She's been out at the ranch. She comes to visit. You come to visit. You've been here for a few days now. What, about a week? About a week on vacation up here? She likes it out at the ranch, so like the animals love it out there, but I don't know. Sometimes I get lonely and I don't get to go out there and see them as much. I've been out to the ranch a few times in the last couple of weeks, but not as much as I'd like. Yeah, Bluestone, you hit the nail on the head. We sure do. But if anybody wants to come on and debate it and make their point, I'll break it all down for you. You know, we can talk about that. It's something kind of more for the random files, but I'm totally okay with talking about whatever. So if somebody wants to come on and talk about Bigfoot, Dogman, or aliens and the connection, in particular a crawler. I like to talk about the crawlers, and y'all can tell me what you think a Bigfoot, an alien, or a crawler is. What's going on, guys?
Hey, Josh.
Hey, Wolf.
Hey,
Hey, Sean.
Hey.
What's going on?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you something about something that we talked about a while back when I first came on Open Lines. Do you remember what I said about the crawler that was crawling through a TV, but instead of the normal white that you would see in a physical world, like the world where now it came out black, almost as if it decided to, like it was a reverse of itself, in a sense. What's your opinion on that? Because most of the crawlers here are always pale, always like seeping black goo, always skinny, almost like they're in a sense essentially a ghoul of some kind. Would they still be the same as like in their dimension, or would they be more or less different one way or another?
So you're asking if a pale crawler comes into our dimension, is it different from where it came from? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, because like we were constantly talking about these alternate realities, these Bigfoot or Dogman, the same thing is more or less the same with them. They take on different forms, all that.
I think I understand what you're saying. You're saying when they come here, they take on different forms. So you're saying where they come from.
They might be more different, as in they're more given more life. They're in a sense more fuel of energy. Where here they lack it, so they try to take it. They're more seen killing animals. Do you think they would be doing the same over there, or no?
Yeah, I do. I think that if they were here doing what they do and being what they are, I think they would be the same over there. I don't see why they would come here and be different. You know what I mean? Like I don't think that's the case. If you're thinking of them as like a plasmoid creature, you know, like maybe they're plasma, you know, like possibly ghosts, demons, jinn, fae. Maybe they're plasma. Maybe they're balls of light, like plasma. That was another one that I was thinking about doing tonight, you know, because I didn't know how much time I was going to have. Was just telling a story that was out of southern Kentucky about Dogman and orbs making a connection, because there's a bunch of stories about that, but there was one in Kentucky that I had told somebody that I might tell their story soon. A guy named Jason. But yeah, there are different types of crawlers too, that they have a weird look about them, for sure, these creatures, but some look black and some are white. And I don't know if there's a difference. I don't know if the black, maybe they're more consumed by the black goo. I don't know. I don't know what would be why we get reports of both, but we do. I've even gotten reports of like these creatures looking kind of red-skinned. which is weird. I've got a few of those too. And when they describe the creature, it sounds like a tail crawler, but it's like reddish color. You know what I mean?
Would the eyes be red too, in a sense, or no?
Do what?
Would the eyes, the eye shine that they would get from the red skinned crawlers, would they also glow red or no?
You know, I don't know. Because a couple of the report, well, no, it was about 3. When I looked the other day in the files, there was about 3, and I think 2 of those were just picked up. You know, I didn't field those, and they've been in there for a while, and I would have to track them down and see where they came from exactly. Probably from a group somewhere, and I don't remember. I might have taken those emails and just stuck them over in the files, but definitely there was one in particular that I fielded, and it was kind of weird. And it was from a guy. He had a handle, and it was like Dutch something, whatever. And he said something because I remember the guy's handle was weird, and I'm not gonna. It was weird. It was like a weird handle. But he ended up getting in trouble for his name because so he had to change it because it was something that was kind of messed up. So I guess YouTube said, "Hey, you can't use that or whatever." But he sent me some kind of weird message on the comment section. But so I took the comment off, and then he gave me an email address, and I never used it. But eventually, he emailed me and said, "Hey, I'm the guy that said such and such." Because he said something that was really long dissertation in one of the comments, but it was pretty abrasive, not toward me, but it was something that would have got us in trouble with YouTube. And he was very, how do you say it? Like very staunch in his belief. Let's put it that way. And he claims that him and his, when I say family, him and his mother were living in a trailer out in the middle of Oklahoma, in the middle of nowhere, and they got attacked by this, what would amount to a red crawler. So that was weird, What does it say? I can't take you seriously with that smoke detector beep going in the background. Well, then go fuck yourself, dude. How about that? You can go eat shit, Don't come back. Block that dude. He doesn't take me seriously. I don't take your mama seriously, bitch. How about that? Not in the fucking mood. People's fucking shit. They want to be cockheads, dude. Not in the mood.
Also, for the record, nice flash shirt you got on.
Oh, thanks. I'm sorry about that. I just not in the mood. People's bullshit right now.
It's fine. Hey, Sage.
Not
yeah,
enough.
that ghoul can go fuck himself.
Yeah, he's just who is probably one of the roach heads.
Oh yeah.
People, yeah. So they're just the other day they came in as Aztec Warrior, over there with Abe's channel.
Yeah.
Talking shit and being stupid, like we don't know who you are. I'm just sick of them, and I'm sick of their trolling, sick of their crap.
Very demented.
I mean, if they were serious, worth of shit researchers and people who had serious channels, people would go to them and give them their stories, but they don't.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it. And try working all the damn time. You might feel a little differently. But so yeah, this is the question was about the eyes. Now remember this was a weird thing, and I don't know that this crawler would be absolutely the same thing as a prill crawler or a black crawler, other than the way that it was built. It had the same build as like a white crawler or a black crawler that I've gotten stories from, but it was red. And there were, like I said, there are a couple others I have to go back and look, but they're old. And probably because there might be other stories, but when somebody sends you an email and it says crawler, they tend to kind of get put in the same file. So I can go back and look. We got 20, 30 of them in there. Some of them are just real short. Like I remember reading one. It was like literally like 4 sentences, not even like it was like a paragraph. It was just like I had an encounter with something crawled across the road in Florida, and it was late at night, and it was black, and it crawled across the road. Mm-hmm. Had the description of a crawler. When I emailed the person back and said, "What was it that you like any features that stand out. It was like, well, you've heard of a rake, and I said yes, and it said like that. That was it. That's the whole encounter. And like when I tried messaging back with this person, they never responded back. So that came from a guy whose email was like too short or something like that. Too short something, like spliff or some crazy goofy shit. But that person was like, yeah, they claim to have seen a black crawler with the same features of what you would describe as like a rake. And everybody knows, oh, the rake is like creepypasta, blah, blah, blah. Well, yeah, but it's also something that people see all over the place. Thank you for that donation, Paranormal Discussion. Mickey G, we appreciate it. Mickey, how you been? And I apologize for the outburst, guys. I'm just not in the mood for people's shit. I had somebody trying to troll me earlier on some conservative page talking about how I'm stupid because I didn't want this war with Iran. And I'm like, no, I'm not stupid. Because these people that are okay with that, they're either people who aren't going to have to deal with it. They don't have money invested in things, and they don't understand like who's really pulling the strings, and they're very ignorant. They're very ignorant, or they would not want something like this. The one upside is that gold and silver go through the roof because, unfortunately, any bad news is good news when it comes to gold and silver. Precious metals go through the roof with anything bad news.
We should all invest in the gold and silver things. It's just going to keep on going.
Yeah. Well, if you haven't already, it's a little late now. You're going to be kind of behind, under the gun. But, yeah, because silver's almost at $100 an ounce again, and gold is at like $53.65 or something. Wow. So it's a little late in the game if you haven't already gotten it. And a lot of the weak hands have already sold what they're going to sell. And the smelters are now behind. In particular, they don't want alloy. What I mean by that is if you're selling silver that's $995 or sterling silver or jewelry, they're going to have a problem with it, But I think that if you take your silver jewelry, if you have somebody that can melt it down for you and make rounds out of it, I mean, Hey, Willow, how you doing?
So my problem with war is most people that have been in even a fist fight don't understand the tax that it takes on the people that are involved in it, let alone all life is precious. How could anyone cheer on one nation, one leader, ordering the death of another person? Now, I get it. The Ayatollah is a piece of crap. I'm not going to reduce that to anything. But people shouldn't be out there cheering for more of it. Sensible killing is okay. The outright just to go to war, that ain't okay. Like, have some morals and have some respect for life,
I think there was a school in Iran that was hit, like a school for girls, and he killed, I think it's like 50 or 100.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, of course, from America's side, it's like, well, it's great for you, America, but I think they just hit like a $1.something billion like radar station. It's gone with like $1,000 missile. So it's going to affect both sides, and everyone's invulnerable.
So think of it like this: at any given moment, there could be 1 million Americans, born Americans that lived here. Their parents lived here in America. That could be over there, of any race of any race that's living over there in the Middle East right now. That could be affected by this. How could anyone cheer on more of this? Like sensible stuff, taking out their target sites, taking out Ayatollahs. Understandable, but how could anyone just want to kill more people? Just outright kill more people? It shows the character of people.
One of the big things too is from everything we've gathered in the show, it seems these wars and stuff like that helps open gateways and portals for evil entities to more easily flood into the world, like a mass sacrifice type of thing.
Oh, 100%.
And that's definitely part of it. I've had and not to just go away from the conversation, but it's kind of related. And I'll have to wait for Josh to come back a little bit because Josh will want to hear this. I've had a kind of interesting chance conversation with someone who kind of led me on to pretty much that they were what they've stated to be is that they are reptilian, and they're in the US government. And they've met 3 groups Pleiadians, reptilians, and Dracos in the United States government. And this just came out of the blue. I didn't even ask this person. It was a completely different type of chat. And this person was brought up, kind of hinted at. I'm like, well, okay, I know a little bit about this stuff. What do you know? And they went through all this. I'll wait for Josh to kind of come back if I go into it. But they've even sent me a photo of their eyes slitted up. And the best I can screen through the photo, it doesn't look like AI. It looks pretty legit.
Well,
some quite a little bit alarming theme, but the general idea is people think humanity's really in control of governments. No. It's there's higher.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not even what you think it is, man. Some people actually believe that like humans are in charge of everything.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, there's a group of humans that closely work with them and do their bidding, but they're not really because it's like taking the red pill is one thing. And I don't suggest going black because that's what Richard has done, you know. But what I'm talking about is like taking the red pill and basically going further down below than Trump is the good guy and the Clintons are the bad guys. You know, like you got to go further than that. The knee-jerk react conservative is not quite as annoying to me as the leftist shithill that you deal with, but they're not. It's not much better. You know what I mean? Like, because you know, if you're just a cheerleader for certain people, you know, then it really starts to get like frustrating. There's Black Pill himself. What's up, Black Pill? What? You know, they live shirt on.
What's up, dude?
Good choice. Good shirt choice.
Oh my gosh, Takeyashi. Oh shit. Dee says take the Jesus pill. Absolutely. But taking the Jesus pill, a lot of people seem to think that taking that pill means that you have to be on board with the supposed people who claim they're Jews and they are not. Speaking of Revelations 2:9 and 3:9, I'm not going to get into a big old thing here because I don't want my algorithms to get shitted on again. We're finally getting out of the doldrums, and I don't need the bullshit and the mass reporting done by the Roach Camp and everything else that they've done has just been a pain in the ass. But yeah, people really don't. They really don't understand, like, you know, what this really means. Like, if I thought that they were just going to go over there, I'm talking about Iran, and knock out the mullahs and get them free, I would be okay with that. But because I have a few friends that are Persian and they're here for a reason. They're here because the regime over there is effed up, you know, and I totally sympathize with them. I get it, you know, and I was like, just the one guy, I mean, like he's been in charge for like 39 years or some shit, you know. I think it's time to go, you know. I mean, the dude won't die, you know. And I had a couple of leftists, you know, telling me, you know, oh, this is Trump, he's a bad guy, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, maybe, but he's the best we got for the economy. But then again, I don't know if I trust this guy, man. Somebody just said Trump is the Judas goat. Very possible. I don't know. I don't trust him because he was good for the economy. But now, you know what you're doing now, dude? You're effing up my finances, dude. I think it would have been a lot worse under the communist that was running because they would have finished destroying. But I can tell you this. I don't think that voting does shit. And I don't think we can vote our way out of this shit. And I think that the man that's up there right now, yeah, they're like, oh, he's playing the long game. Dude, get your QN and head out of your ass, first of all. No, he's not. He's doing what is best for himself and his people. And so that's the thing, you know. And yeah, exactly. You can't trust Trump or any of them. And I'm going to talk about this on the random files. I'm going to come out and I'm going to say what I got to say. So that's a show for that. And this month will be when I start doing that. And Dee Dee says, if it mattered, they wouldn't let us vote. Exactly.
Funny how every world leader that gets installed goes and prays at the Chabadnik Rebbe's grave in New York about a month or two before they get selected.
Yeah. And sometimes people will say silly things to me like, "Oh, well, you want the Muslims to do?" No, because F them too. You know, maybe unpopular opinion, but I think they're both evil, and we should fight them. That's just my opinion. The Muslims have one thing correct: fight the non-believers who are near to you. If you're a non-believer and you're possibly a threat to me and you're near to me, then I think that we have a problem. And if you're going to espouse your crazy bullshit, my one friend lives near a mosque, and I'm just going to come out and say it. I mean, they have had some issues. They've made kind of overt threats and things like that. Yeah, we'd have some freaking problems. There's not one over here next to me, so I'm okay. I don't care. But I'm not okay with that shit. I mean, I'm not. That's not my my preferred. I have, but by the same token, I have to say this. I have a few Jewish friends and I have a few Muslim friends. And in fact, there's a couple of them that work for us, you know, on both sides. But those particular Jewish and Muslim people don't try to proselytize to me, and they damn sure don't pontificate to me and try to tell me how to believe, you know. And so they just do their job, and they actually do their job well. They're foreign and they do their job. I don't have a problem with them. But I do have a problem with somebody who is constantly trying to scream and yell. I was downtown one day and there were these black Israelite people, you know, those people, and they were screaming and yelling with the bullhorn. And I told the one guy, better get the F out of my face. And when I was walking back by, he put it kind of back into my face, and I shoved them back, and they act like they wanted to fight. And for some reason, Sage goes by Sage Cooley. I think it's kind of funny. They were calling me a coolie. So I didn't know what that was at the time. But apparently it's anybody who's white. And then one of them was telling me how I would be forgiven if I kissed their feet and asked for forgiveness. And I told him, I said, and this was just me being as polite as possible. I said, what I could do for you is I could take my foot, I could put up your ass. And they kind of were backing up, putting their hands up. I said, no, you don't understand. Come here so I can put my foot up your ass. Would you forgive me if I did that? And he said, no, you'll get effed up. I said, no, I don't think so. There's only 4 of y'all. I think y'all are outnumbered. I think you're probably gonna get fucked up, you know? And so they just kept talking and saying, and they were doing this weird, like they do the thing that the Jews do where they do that. And they were going, Cooley. And so I was just looking at these guys and I was like, they're so full of shit, man. And I just said, yeah, dude. And then they're so dumb too that they actually believe that your dad has to be black or Hispanic. Because I said, my mom's Hispanic. They go, that won't work. You got to be your dad. And I said, that's dumb because you know who the mom is. You don't always know who the dad is. I had a friend when we were 26 years old. I was 28. He was 26. He found out that his dad wasn't his dad.
Yeah, none of them have their dads in the picture, so what do they care?
So I was just like, man, how do you know, man? Because you don't know if you don't know the dad, you don't know what's up, man. And so they were like 3 guys, they were black, and one of them was Hispanic or something like that. And I just basically told them they weren't interested in actually fighting. They just wanted to keep yelling and screaming, and they got real loud. So the 2 cops came running over there and kind of got in between us. And I was like, this dude touched me with that bullhorn, dude, and I didn't like it. And the cop was like, well, just walk away. And I said, I'm walking away. I turned around and gave him the finger, and one of the cops followed me, and the other cops stood there talking to them. And they were like, he's calling us names. He said the N-word, which I did not. I did not say that. Because I got a lot of black friends, and they don't act like that. I was just like, they don't go around screaming and yelling with the bullhorn in my face. But I also, when Trump was running the first time, I ended up getting in a fight with a bunch of dudes because we were standing in line at a birthday party. And I probably told this story on the show. It was real quick, but somebody did that same shit. They walked by and they were like, fuck Trump. And they stuck the bullhorn in my ear. And I was like, so I was standing there in line because I wanted to go to my friend's birthday party. And I should have just went to the front and been like, hey, man, I'm somebody. Let me in, which I eventually did. So they came back by. They didn't stick it in my ear the second time. But they were being loud and belligerent. And it was me and Anthony Scorp D, my friend Adam, and a bunch of us were standing there. And I asked the one guy that walked by, and I just said, hey, dude, I said, can y'all not put the bullhorn in my ear, man? I don't care about what you're doing. And he said, okay. He was cool, but he went and told the other ones. So this guy with dreads, it's like I guess he was Hispanic or something. I don't know what he was. But I walked up to the front. And I told him, I said, hey, can you let me in? I told them how I was. They ran back in. They came back out, and they said, okay. And I said, well, I got my 5 people with me. When I got back over there to tell everybody, let's go in, the guy came up there and he stuck it in my face. And I saw the black dude trying to grab him, like, come on, dude, like, don't do that. And that dude with dreads was trying to be antagonistic. So he did stick it in my face and did it again. And unfortunately for him, violence erupted right then. I'm not going to say what or how or what, but let's put it this way. When the cops came and pulled us away from those guys, a couple of them had F the police shirts on, which didn't work in their favor. And when they were pleading their case, it was a black cop. They kept trying to talk to him like he was going to be sympathetic, right? And he just kept looking at their shirt and going like, well, you over here with an F the police shirt on. What is that? He didn't care about their whole crying about whatever. And I said, sir, it's on camera, man. He hit me with the bullhorn because he did. He put it right on my face and did it again. And so this little punk, he did it on purpose because that dude told him, hey, man, when you go by, don't mess. It's because the guy was trying to grab him by the shoulder and telling him, hey, man, don't do that. He just doesn't want you screaming in his ear. And the guy was like belligerently doing it. And then he was daring me to do something. And when he touched me with it, when he hit me in the face with it, that's when I did something back. And then a bunch of shit popped off, which lasted like 20 seconds. And several people got involved and they got the short end of the stick big time. I didn't chase anybody. Like one of my friends chased somebody in the parking garage, got a little bit of trouble, got reprimanded and held up for about an hour, and then they let him go. But it was pretty much, that guy getting in my face screaming. And I told him, I said, I even told the cops, I said, it's their right to protest and hate whoever they don't like, whatever. But when I asked the guy the first time, don't do that in my ear, he was stopping and doing it right in my ear on purpose. And I can't help but feel like it was a little bit racial because most of the people online were black or Hispanic. Mm-hmm. And I knew a bunch of them, so they all kind of knew me. And there were a couple guys that I knew that came down and were like, hey, man, you need to not do that to this dude. And then they did it again just to kind of prove a point. And they were doing it to my brother, too, and another guy that was white. And so I was just like, okay, so you're basically profiling me, because of my skin color. And so I got really aggravated. And, we ended up getting into it. But that kind of shit happens when you're living in a liberal city where a lot of the white people are weak. And they're just like, okay. And they go along with whatever stupid, shitty little cause that they got going on just so they can be like, what's the word?
Virtue signaling.
Virtue signaling, yeah, with their virtue signaling, like, I'm on your side. Yeah. Because me, I'm like, I'm cool with everybody, but I don't care. Like, if you cross that line and you got the problem because you're the racist or whatever, you can catch these hands and, you can get these nuts, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care, bro. Yeah. I mean, it's like, I asked this guy politely too. I wasn't even an asshole. I just said, please don't do that again, man. I was uncalled for. And then he came back up there purposely to start it. And that happens with people in those kind of groups, man. They're very hateful people. Of course, last night, 17 people were shot by a Muslim extremist, at least that's what they're saying it is, a guy from Senegal who's Islamic. And I got to say this, there's two things about that terror attack, and it was a terror attack in my opinion. One, that just shows how violent they are, Senegalese, not really the Senegalese, whatever, but people who are of that religion, they are not a religion of peace, in my opinion. Absolutely. In my opinion. And then the other thing it does is, why the fuck is he over here?
Exactly.
Yeah. Why are you over here, dude? Well, there's two reasons why he's over here. One, because dumbass libtards give him free shit. And two, because the tiny hats open the door and are trying to destroy us.
Exactly.
See, that's what I mean by being pilled for real, because they shouldn't even be over here. They were created by these people to do these things, to terrorize us. And so that leads to, war. And now it's like, oh, look, they're attacking us with terrorism. So not only does it kill people, which is always fun for them because they love blood sacrifice, the tiny hats, and then it does something for the people that are sheep that need to have a reason to be like, oh, we have to do this. You're actually making that happen.
And it ushers in the police state.
And the police state comes up, yeah.
Absolutely.
So when they use the David slingshot, and I don't mean like the David sling is in their weapon that they use. I'm talking about they literally have terms for that. Like they shoot 3 rocks, hit multiple targets. There's no wasted movement with those people. And if you really want to get deep, we're going to get on Random Files, and I'm going to tell you what's going on in Mexico. Because the silver mines, one of the reasons why silver is so jacked up is because the mines are now being threatened. They can't even get the silver out of Mexico now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And Shine Bomb's like, I'm not going to do nothing to them. I don't want to violate their civil rights.
Like I heard, like it's pretty much like the Mexican government's the Mexican capital and the area around it, and then the rest of the country is just ran by different drug cartel groups. Yeah, this is a lawless narco-terrorist state.
And it's all part of the same corrupted, rotten problem.
Yep.
She's a shiny hat, too, by her.
I was going to say, Shine Bomb's a Mexican name, isn't it?
Yeah, very Mexican, sure. Yeah. But so that's pretty much what's going on, and everybody gets mad when I say the truth. Well, if you're not familiar with CRT, you're not going to understand like the real reality and how it works.
And about
one of the things I wanted to talk about tonight with these dogmen, how many of you people in the audience or on the panel here tonight believe that dogmen are either a corruption? We know 100% they're a corruption of the DNA, whatever, but they are corruption spirits in a human or in a flesh body being run by some sort of shadow government, or that they're being mass produced, cloned, because so many people are seeing them now. They're everywhere. And then how many of them, how many people believe that they're being weaponized and prepared for something nefarious for our people?
All of the above?
All of the above, in my opinion. Huh? Because, Wolf, you actually did an encounter a few months ago. I think it was during Vietnam or something like that, where their government was actually releasing a man or somebody with that kind of condition who was either infected or was born like that into the jungle to kill the opposing enemy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and whenever you go deep dive down into this, it always comes up they're near military bases.
Yeah.
I mean, not always, but not too long ago, I got a story about the Grand Canyon, and I haven't told this one yet. But this guy from the Grand Canyon, he went hiking, and he ended up, and I know this guy personally. I met him in a Dogman group years ago, and he would never let me tell his encounter on Dogman Encounters. Then I find out that the reason why is because he's had multiple encounters, but I think because of the nature of the show on, that channel, it just wasn't going to happen. You couldn't talk about the weirdness. You know what I mean? The woo, as they call it.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth. But he talked about being chased into part of the Grand Canyon where he went like near the river too. He found an opening that looked like, and he did it by accident. He found it because he was crawling along the wall, and he found a hidden entrance that looked like just a black rock. It was just darker than the others. And he just walked through it, and it was an opening. And he walked up a flight of stairs, and he ended up going up and up and up and up and up, and he just kept going because once he committed to going in there, he figured that this thing was down there, probably below him, chasing after him. And what he found inside is something that many people have described, not just a handful, but quite a few. But they're always dismissed as cuckoo. And what he found was like, at the time, he had no clue that that's what it was. But, from what he was able to ascertain, it was ancient Persian writing.
Yeah.
And he didn't realize at the time, he thought it was all Egyptian, but it was Egyptian and Persian, which speaks to a common ancestry that we all had at one time. And who knows what they were doing here?
Have you ever seen how many old Westerns, especially the black and white ones, they'll be going through that one canyon in particular, and there's all those ancient Egyptian statues all over the place, and they just have them in the background, but they're sort of showing you without really showing you, unless you actually notice it. You don't really see it, and they're humongous. I've seen 2 or 3 of them where they use that exact same canyon, and there's like a good 4 or 5 statues in the background, and there's faces in the wall, and there's all but they always make it so that you're anybody who like they have the action scene in the foreground, but all that is surrounding it in the background.
What Western is this? Because I need to see this.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and look. I can't remember what the name of the one is. It's the one where there's several of them. Just give me a couple of days, and I'll try and find them for you.
Yeah.
Any famous actors you recognize?
I'll go through my Amazon Prime and I'll look and see what they were.
Yeah, and actually, Richard's been pretty good about actually finding stuff that he talks about. Because it's outlandish as some of the shit you say.
Right?
You're about 80% correct on a lot of it. So I would say.
I appreciate that. 4 out of 5 ain't bad.
Yeah, you're about 80%. Some of the other stuff, I don't say you're wrong about the other stuff. You've been wrong about maybe 10%. And the other 10%, you just couldn't prove it. But I get it because you've been right about a lot.
I was wrong about the 2 Texas divisions in World War I. It was World War II, and they were at Anzio when they were crossing the Rapido River.
Okay.
I mistook that for something else, for another attack that happened at Belleau Wood, but it wasn't the same division.
And then, of course, the tank battle that you keep changing the numbers on.
Oh, God, don't even get me started on Kiev, bro.
Because there's no proof now because, hey,
I know.
The Mandela effect may have erased it, but you could just be full of shit. You could be wrong.
That's true. I could be. I could be
too. I could be full of shit because I'm wrong too. Some of the things that I thought could be.
But the thing is that when they haven't actually changed the pre-war, like how they had the Soviet tank armies pre-war, they actually haven't changed the number of men to tanks. It's still 49-1. And if they took 660,000 guys, it would be 14,000 tanks.
I don't think that they killed 660,000 guys in any battle.
No, the Battle of Kiev, they killed like 200 and some thousand, and they took it was a total of 660,000 guys. It was 666, of course, right? But it's 660,000 guys were wiped out in those big.
One of the greatest encirclements in military history.
Yeah, Kiev, at the time. 41, yeah.
But there was a comment, and I don't mean to interrupt from this. There was a comment just a bit earlier about the government and some of the stuff that the government's doing. And I really want to share this. Kind of mentioned to you guys on the recording we did last start of this weekend here. But it's this person who's I kind of got in contact with, and it randomly ended up being about. They kind of slipped something about I'm an alien. I'm going like, okay, wait a second. Is that real? Or are you just shitting with me? And like, oh no, it's real. Oh, okay, I say a little bit about the stuff I know and go, oh, you actually know about this stuff. And so we went in a huge conversation. So they apparently work in the government right now, the American government. And they said they've encountered Pleiadians, reptilians, and the Draco within the American government, which I'm sure they're in all governments. They've shared with me quite a few interesting things. One of the things you'll really be interested in, Josh, which happened near to the end of our conversation, was oh, sorry, you still there, Josh?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay. So they talked about shape-shifting. So I went, okay, because they sent me a photo of their eyes slitted up. And I've looked close at it. It looks pretty legit. It doesn't look like AI. So I asked them, have you actually physically shape-shifted? And they said, yes, 3 times, but I had to keep it safe for the process. They never gave me a clear answer what that is, but the government wants them to keep it safe for something in the future, which is kind of concerning. But they talked about, I can shape-shift all the time in DMT or on hallucinants. And we know we talked about the guy, the DMT episode. And he was able to see. So that's what they just talked about pretty much to me. They said, oh yeah, if you're on DMT and stuff like that, I can make you can see what I am. I can shape-shift in front of you, yada, yada, yada. So that's another person confirming that to me, which is very, very interesting.
There is a lot of people confirming that there is shape-shifting going on. Most recently, I got one, Six Flags over Texas. A guy was with his family. They're in Arlington, and they saw a guy. Well, he saw a guy in the restroom. According to him, they were both washing their hands next to each other, and the guy, it was like it blinked, and his holographic image, whatever came out, I mean, it was gone. And this guy was looking at a grayish green reptoid about 7 feet tall. And when it turned to look at him, he was like in shock. And when the guy turned and looked back at the mirror, he realized that all of a sudden he turned back into a human. But this guy told me this. I mean, his name was Craig. I don't know if that's real.
Yeah. And this person told me that they had to do a hypnotic regression, and they had a memory as a child, 2 American soldiers coming up to them and giving them a snake, and the snake bit their eye and then went into their eye. So it's got like on the astral plane, and that's when they were able to later on shapeshift. That's what this individual said, they were converted at that point, so they're able to shapeshift. And I want to talk about the other things. One of the things they said in the photo they showed me was they said they're 1 year younger than me, right? Because we asked our ages. In this photo, they look like they're like 10 years younger than me. Like,
they always actually do look younger than they are, typically.
Well, one of the other reasons was, unfortunately, this kind of made me sick when they said this. But they said they have been taking adrenochrome.
You know, and one of the things too, like I feel pretty safe. I'm pretty comfortable in my faith and pretty comfortable. But these beings and these entities, they try to break you down. They just chip away at your armor, and they try to fool you, and then they try to, seduce you with sin and all kinds of different, the anger and getting too far into your emotions can be very dangerous for somebody, because you're leaving a spiritual opening of yourself.
Yeah.
And so, 100%. Folks, I got to tell you, you got to pray against it. It's hard, very hard. Puck, what do you got there? You're showing us this picture. What do you got there?
Okay, when I was 11, we went camping at the same sacred Aboriginal grounds by a river and a sacred mountain that I grew up going to ever since I was a kid, and I was inducted into tribe there. And one day we were camping there by ourselves as a family, and I went down to fill the billy can in the water by the river, and in the mist, in the early morning light of the river, this thing was standing there, coming out of the water like that, and it had this weed all over it, like this moss stuff, and it had like the same junk hanging off its forearms, but its forearms were like sticks, but like the legs of an eagle, but it had too many bends in it, and it wore like a deer skull for a face, and I could tell it wasn't part of a living creature, the face. It was like it was wearing something, but it had all this crap on its back, and it's shaped like a kangaroo. But it had hooves, like a deer.
Interesting, that is.
And and I turned around and yelled out for me dad. And as I turned back around, it was disappearing into mist, like not walking deeper into the mist. It literally turned into the mist and just went back over the water. And I told me dad, I don't know if he got to see it or not when it was disappearing, but after that we packed up and we went home in a couple of hours. That was it. We're packing up. Elfo's seen a yowie, not a yowie, a bunyip. And a bunyip is more of an evil spirit than a physical cryptid. And so it's like a chimera of multiple animals and things. And this was like half plant, eagle, kangaroo, dead deer, moss, weed. It was just this crazy looking thing, and it turned into mist. Oh, and its eyes glowed blue. Like, you know how Predator's eyes glow green in the movie? Its eyes glowed blue, and it flashed blue eyes before it disappeared.
Hey, boys, I'll be back in like 10 minutes, okay?
You got to go get some Tim Hortons?
I do. I just got a call here.
Yep, so that's about the story of the encounter. I'm not going to waffle on about what we were going to make with the cup of tea and all this. Like, you hear those Dogman encounters that go on for hours. I'm just like straight to the point. But if anyone's got any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Well, so to explain to people exactly what that thing is we're looking at. Not exactly, because you don't know yourself exactly, but what do you think it is?
It's an evil spirit. It's not a physical creature, but it can become physical enough to grab you and drag you into the river. That's what it wants. It's luring you to the river. And and they're generally around rivers that have got gold and riches and sacred places and all that kind of stuff. They're basically like a Nahani Valley headhunter, but they're our Aussie version of that. Like, if you're too greedy in the woods and you're not respecting the local native spirits, this thing's more of an evil spirit than it's a physical thing. And that's why I say I saw it turning into mist right in front of me. It didn't disappear into the mist. It turned into mist.
Yeah, it turns into the mist.
Wow.
Yeah.
Reminds me of some
Or
other.
you thinking it's an evil spirit that can shapeshift? Is this kind of like the? I don't, just for the
It looks
audience,
like a Wendigo.
Yeah, kind of like a Wendigo, right, Sage?
Yeah, it looks like a Wendigo other than the kelp on the back.
I'd say more like a chimera because it has no relation to humanity whatsoever.
Okay, so not a skinwalker, right, for the audience?
No, it's not summoned by people. It's like a creature of the land, and you have to respect the spirits of the forest and things, or you'll get messed up.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, for a lot of like Wendigo tradition, it just depends which like tribe and which area of the nation that you attribute it to. Like there's some, like, take like Sasquatch, for instance. There's the Northwest Sasquatch that there's a guardian of the woods, and then there's other ones where it's more aggressive in different parts of the nation. Some tradition says that the Wendigo comes from cannibalism. Others, it's just a dark energy that always exists, or a dark spirit that always exists. So a lot, like, you have to think like America, the United States of America is a giant swath of land. Like Texas alone can take up like 8 different states, 9 states, like just one state. Whereas where I live, some states I can fit like 3 states into where I live. So like you got to think not all traditions match up with each other, but there are some that are, yes, cryptids of the land, where the cryptid just exists in its state or as a spirit. So,
well, I think, so I didn't try. I don't want to try. I just the Calep or Calepi, I think it's called. I have to check again.
Kelpie?
It's like Kelpie. It's like the Irish English folklore. That's kind of more what that thing reminds me of, especially the way it tries to kill people.
Yeah. I agree with him. It's closer to a Kelpie. It's going to lure you to water.
Yeah.
And it's going to,
Water is a really important subject, because from all the research I've done and people like Missing 411 and some other groups, there's a lot of disappearances around water. And there's a lot of weird themes around water. I've seen something weird myself that went back to the creek right near me. And there's no way it could exist and live within that creek. It's too shallow. What water is like, I think it's like almost like a ability for water beings to portal in and out from other realms.
Yeah, I think the more we learn about this quantum material metastate stuff and like the nature of the planet and like the energies and all this stuff that's in the brain, like we've got nanotubes in the brain now apparently that they've discovered, and we can pick up things like, why does dowsing work? You know, it's like some people can just sense it and their body's attuned to it.
Yeah,
it's like that kind of thing. It's like I've been hiking and bushwalking with people around areas that I've seen this thing, and it's like sometimes you just get a vibe and you're like, no, we're not following this valley. We got to go one valley over, not this one. And you're basically allowed to follow the waterways, but there's certain mountains you don't bloody climb. You know, like that's going up to the God realm. Like that's you're not going there.
Yeah, your intuition, your gut intuition is a huge good guide to have.
Queen?
I've had one instance. Well, we weren't really lost, but we went off trail into a forest, and I was with a sibling. He wasn't being very.
Yeah, we brought him.
But I like almost tuned into something too much and guided us back onto the trail properly. I mean, it was like almost like a hook tuning in and just, okay, this way, back. I wasn't even looking at stuff. It just guided us right back.
I need one of you to come with me in the woods because I'm terrible at direction. I get lost in a big car park and I carry a compass in my man bag. I'm that bad.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to pop off. I just wanted to share that. But I just
Thank
threw
you for
that
sharing
live.
that, Puck. We
Yeah.
appreciate it, man.
Yeah, and I don't know what it was wearing. It looked like a shade of moss, and it was part animal, part bird, part stick, part swamp, part kangaroo. It was weird looking.
Yeah.
Anyway, there we go. And me old man said we're packing up and leaving.
All right, we'll see you. Well, so now there were 3. Anybody else want to jump on? There was somebody saying they wanted to do something.
There's about to be 2. I have to shoot off 2 for the night. So God bless you, Josh. I hope things improve for you. I'm sorry for you guys going through right now. And we'll be in touch.
All right, man. I'll see you.
Take care.
So now it's just me and you, Sage. I guess that's it, huh?
Oh, man, it's just me and you. Well, I mean, I don't have anything to do tonight.
Yeah. I had some things to do, but I had to rush back, man. I was trying to get things done, and we have some issues going on. A couple of our sites. I don't know what these people are doing, but it's been warm during the day, but it gets cold at night. And so, it's in the 60s, and these people are insisting on jumping in the swimming pool, which is weird. I think it's just a defiance thing. They just want to do it just to be doing it.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
Yeah. So we've had a lot of complaint calls the last couple of days.
Yeah, nothing like stagnant water to swim in.
Yeah, cold, dirty water.
Weirdos. Hopefully they don't get a brain-eating amoeba.
Kind of like being in Canada right now.
Yeah,
the cold, stagnant water that people swim in.
Mm-hmm. Or Louisiana.
Yeah, Louisiana is another one that's got a lot of it.
Yep. Some bad water down there.
So if anybody hasn't been paying attention, or you're living under a rock or whatever, if you're part of PRT, Sage has been on the last 3 or 4 weeks. I think he'll be on one more, right? We got one more.
One more. We got one more.
Yeah, and then that's the big finale. And then we start on another person's. And we finished recording with him the other day. And then we got Takayasha coming up. I'm going to be recording with Daniel Hamilton. I hate to say this. I think his show is called the Cryptid Podcast. I think that's just what it's
something
called.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll be on with him. Oh, you're going to do that?
You're a busy man.
Yeah.
Like,
I was going to record with James Bartley, but I'm trying to get a time together, and then I got to record with Paul Sinclair and Paul Wallace. So one is in Britain, one is in Australia, a tour in Australia. So it's going to be hard trying to get the right times so I can get this done. But it is something I need to do. I've been avoiding doing other shows and things like that for a while, and it's time to get back into it and doing other people's shows.
Yeah. Get your face out into more people's shows, because other people have different little micro climates and micro niches that attract certain people to just their channel.
Mm-hmm.
I think of it this way: an average working person has maybe an hour each night outside of their family to listen to something, especially if they have kids. That's after their kids go to bed, after maybe their wife's gone to bed. They might have an hour, and they got to pick that night what they want to listen to. If they want to play video games, listen to this, watch TV, they got to pick. And you and we, and as a channel, we got to make ourselves a community that people want to be entertained by.
Mm-hmm.
That's just is what it is. That's just the marketing of it is what it is. I went to school for business management, and you got to put out a product, and you do put out a product that attracts people and that people want to be part of. Well, it's hard. You're a hardworking man. I mean, we hammered out at a time, 3 hours at a time, and then you did 6 or 7 hours of recording that one day with other people.
Yeah, because I had to record with you, and then go and record with Takayasha. And then on top of that, an hour before I came with you, I was getting somebody's encounter from Indiana. So before I showed up with you, I had just got off the phone with them and getting their encounters, and then trying to. And right now I'm really struggling with somebody because they have a lot of stuff like you do, but they want me to tell it. And I'm like, I'm already doing that with 2 other groups of people retelling. This guy's Marco and Marco Santa. What's the other guy's name? I always forget his name. His younger brother. I hate that. Marcos and from Houston. Luis.
Yeah, that can be so difficult sometimes.
It is, and then you got to keep up. And I did Mark's stuff too, so Mark's got a lot. So my camera went out. That's great.
Oh, that's great.
Okay.
Yeah, it's. I mean, after recording with you, I can see how you run yourself thin sometimes, but you stay ahead of the curve, so you can't just be out hoaxing or making a BS like on the drop of a dime, or like remixing old stuff that's already been freaking featured or mixed somewhere else. Like there's no creativity in that unless you're adding to some significant portion to it, like hours of material to one little, like, let's say freaking Jack the Ripper, let's say that you had to add hours of portion to that, and you have to relate that to different psychology, different things, versus what's already been out there. Like, people have seen so much that you can't just use, the first Mothman incident, like some people do, or be out hoaxing down the road, you just can't. You have to actually create good material. You have to spend hours. You have to go find people, credible people. You have to listen to their stuff. And if this person spends an hour of your time and you're like, yo, man, you're BSing me, you just wasted an hour of your time. There's a lot that people don't understand. It's running a full-time business. You're running a full-time freaking business. I couldn't do it. I'd lose my mind. I'd lose my mind doing that. Like, my hat's off to you.
Well, sometimes I feel like I'm losing my freaking mind because I have to deal with so much, and our company has 117 accounts.
Jeez.
So yeah, sometimes when you're talking to somebody, you got to go, okay, which property is this?
Wow.
And you have to make them not just feel it, but you got to let them know that they're very important to you.
Yeah.
They're not just another client, because every client is important. Every client matters. That's every client. They're paying you to protect their property, and in the security business is very cutthroat, and there's a lot of competition, and you got to you can't just, it's just one of those things. You can't half-ass that. At the ranch, you got, things going on. You can't half-ass life.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like to sometimes watch these shows with these great coaches, and they'll have these anecdotes and things like that. And I remember one time I was watching Bill Parcells, Cowboys years ago, and he won 2 Super Bowls with the Giants, and he took the Patriots to one. They lost to the it was Super Bowl 31, I think. They lost to the Packers, is who it was. And I remember him saying that if you're down here, like he says, if you're up on top is where you're supposed to be, and if you're down here, then you're supposed to be up here. But if you're just happy to be in the middle, he's like, then life sucks. It's not correct. You got to either be striving to get to the top or be on the top. And what he was saying was basically, like, I was reading this. Hey, I'm sorry, one second. Yeah, tell him drop on, jump. Yeah.
But he wants you to know.
Yeah, tell him. I don't care. It doesn't matter. So anyways, it's basically like he said, like, if you're down here, the only way to go is up, and you got to get to the top. I can't remember if it was an article I read years ago in Sporting News or something like that. But I know what he's saying, right? And one time I watched Jimmy Johnson give a speech, and he said something very similar. He says, you never live your life just right down the middle. You're either here or you're there. And he was basically saying the same thing that Big Tuna was, Big Parcells. I like both those guys as coaches, 2 of my favorite all-time coaches. No nonsense guys that were just very matter of fact. And I remember one of the reasons why I like Bill Parcells is because when the Cowboys were coming back and they were trying to be good again, and it was 1990, I think, and Jimmy Johnson had just lost to the Giants. The Giants ended up going to the Super Bowl that year and winning against the Bills. And as they were walking across the field, Jimmy Johnson kind of had his head down. He looked up, and I saw Bill Parcells do like that, like chin up, like keep your chin up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was nice of him to do that, because that's mad respect for And then of course eventually he retired. I think either the year after or maybe 2 years later, and he was retired for a while. And Johnson, that's when he started winning and winning Super Bowls with the Cowboys. And of course, he wasn't there in '95, but it should have been his team, not goofball Switzer. But the point is this: these are guys who are used to winning, and they squeeze every ounce of potential out of the people around them. And it's very important to another thing Johnson said. He says, "I never treat a person the way that they are, because if you treat them, it's the Pygmalion effect. If you treat a person the way they are, they stay the way they are. If you treat a person the way that they can be, then they strive to be that. So we should always be on the way up. And if you're ever just in the middle of the road and you're happy with being that, that's not good. And it says in the Bible that Jesus says, you're either hot or cold, or I'll spew you from my mouth."
Yeah.
And I totally believe that in every aspect of our lives, you're either here or you're there. And so if I'm not striving to get up to the top and I'm not at the top, I'm down here somewhere. And that's not where I want to be, because to me, middle of the road is just being at the bottom.
Oh, I completely agree. Working in the food industry, you have crappy coworkers, and your crappy coworkers impact you on a daily basis. And if you're not pushing them to what you expect them to be, they're never going to become that. And more often than not, they'll throw a fit because you're pushing them to be better than what they're being right now. And losing, you can only become better. But once you get to the top, it's a fist fight to stay there.
Yeah.
Being middle of the road, you're just getting by. You're not being the best that you can be. But once you get to the top, you're living good. But it's a fist fight to stay there. But being subpar with people around you that depend on you, whether they depend on you for life and substance or to be a team player in some form or another, being subpar is just being a shitty human.
Yeah.
It just is. And a lot of people try to cheat their way to the top with fakery or just cheating or thieving and lying and whatever. And this happens in all aspects of life. And the authenticity gets seen through. Like people will pick that apart. They will spit on your name. But there's always opportunity to be better, but you have to do with authenticity. And I wouldn't have stayed around PRT if I didn't see authenticity there,
Oh, yeah.
Like, I spit on other people. Like, I came across another guy's drama. I'm not going to air it out here, but I came across another guy's drama. Someone in the greater community of Bigfoot that's being stolen valor, that just got outed for stolen valor. He's done stolen valor for the past 25 years. And he got outed by another veteran. And it's like that subpar inauthentic behavior is going to be found out sooner or later, and that behavior doesn't get you to, like Macho Man Randy Savage said, the cream rises to the top.
Yeah.
He may have been on some substances, but it's the truth, man. And it spins around and around and around, but the cream rises to the top, brother.
But no matter what you do, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing right.
Yeah. It's worth doing with pure intention and doing right. And a lot of people miss that.
Yeah.
I will say a lot of people hate the guy that's in office right now, hate our president. But in my opinion, this past couple of days, they did what they had to do because it was the right thing to do. Love it or hate it, it was the right thing to do. It may be influenced by little hats, but in the large spectrum of things, when he got into office and he took out all those nuclear sites, I grew up around a nuclear site. I grew up around chemical weapon depots that could have taken out freaking 750,000 people.
Yeah.
If it blew. Like I grew up around something that they created, and they created nuclear weapon grade material that armed the Cold War, that supplied the Cold War, armed all the armaments that we have in the Cold War, and was the stuff that led up to dropping stuff on Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up around a lot of freaking material and a lot of waste that if something happened, it could have went to shit and still can go to shit, you know. So someone has to be an authentic person that has to have nuts of steel to the rise to the occasion, rise to the top of whatever job that they're doing. And like working as hard as you guys work, I hate to like blow up your ego or anything, but working as hard as you guys work, you guys are constantly going to the very next top. You, Anthony, Nelly, Maddie, Mushu, even the rest of your security team that's holding it down on a daily basis. You guys are constantly stepping up to the top, to the top, to the top. It shows. It just shows. I mean, think about how many lives you have, how many pre-records you have, hours of music you guys have recorded, 3 different shows you guys are going to be running. You guys are insane. You guys are nuts,
I appreciate it, man. I mean, we're trying to do everything we can. And like tonight, we didn't think we were going to make it. And we ended up, getting it done and still being here. Because like I said, if you're going to do something that's worth doing right, you got to do it.
Yeah.
You got to have consistency. And I hated that we were late today, but I wish the channel would grow enough, at least to where I could just do this full time. But unfortunately, it's not big enough, yet. And it's been 7 years. Wow. And hopefully we'll, do it for 7 more. But I don't know. We talk about a lot of stuff, man. And I've been threatened quite a bit by different people telling me, your show's going to get taken down. Your show's going to blah, 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 blah. And as long as I have breath in my lungs, I'll go to Rumble. I'll do it. Yeah. I'll go whatever. I'll do whatever. May not get as big of an audience, and who knows? Maybe we're relegated to the waste bin of history. But at least my words are out there, and I spoke the truth. And these people can tell me, they can condemn me if they want. But I haven't grown as big as I would have liked in the 7 years that I've been here. But I think I think we're doing good, but I value quality over quantity. Mm-hmm. I'd rather have less money and have the people that we got that are care about things like I do and have the passion for this than these casual, listeners and, watchers that'll give you a lot of clicks and views and likes and stuff, but they're not there to really support what you're saying.
Yeah.
And it was Bettina Moss, a good friend of mine, and she just messaged me a couple of days ago. And actually,
good person.
She appreciates my friendship and everything else, and everything that I've had to go through over the past 2-3 years with these monsters that have been attacking us. But she told me one time, she says, you have quality fans. This was her words. And she goes, you have super fans, people that really are hardcore, like they're hard in the paint, And I said, yeah, there are paratroopers. And that's what people really want. There's people that dream to have the kind of listeners that we do, that are smart. Not only they're smart, very smart people, all of y'all, but that are very, very deep thinkers, and that you can go deep with them and take them deep down dive, and they'll understand it, and that's the thing that I value the most is the listeners that are willing to learn and to suspend their previous beliefs to learn from what we're doing here. Dogman is a thrilling and intriguing subject. And a lot of people have seen this creature. I mean, heck, I talked to somebody just yesterday who was giving me a very vivid recount of one they saw near Jonestown. And get this, I almost bought property over there, like right adjacent to it. When I went and looked at the map, I told Anthony, I said, holy shit, we almost bought property right there. And this guy swears up and down that this happened. It's a crazy story. And I might talk about it tomorrow. I think I'm going to do Mark's episode tomorrow night. So show up tomorrow night, folks, 8:00. And we'll be on for a couple of hours, and we're going to talk about this guy's sightings with Anubis. And I'll probably do this other guy's encounter from Jonestown here in Texas on Wednesday, because they're both Dogman related stuff, but it's a crazy, fascinating subject. But you got to also realize, like, there are people, who that's all they want to do is they want to hear about the Dogman, the Bigfoot, the ghost, the alien, whatever. And that's fine. That's what you're here for. But there's so much more to this, because we're dealing with something that is not completely of this world. And what I mean by, I don't like using the term Nephilim, interdimensional, whatever. These things are here and they're able to interact with our world, but they're obviously not from here. They're not native here, right? Or maybe they are, and maybe we're not originally from here. That's something that people don't like to think about. They say, well, no, we're created here, or were we? We don't know for sure 100%. God works in mysterious ways, and we don't always understand what he's saying and what he's, because men are trying to interpret these things. And so I like having that audience that's smart and that can follow us down into these deep dives and wherever it may go, and they don't balk, you know what I mean, and run away because they trust me and they know that I'm not going to take them to some bullshit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not so cut and dry like the Bigfoot, the Dogman. Like we even discussed some of this on our
Starscream, turn your deal down a little bit there. Go ahead, Starscream, turn your deal down a little bit there. Go ahead. Sorry, sir.
Yeah, we totally discussed this the other day, but yeah, we can hear you. I don't think that it's so cut and dry. I think all the experiences that happen up here in the Northwest are not what people want them to be. Like everyone wants to tune into TV. They want to see the Bigfoot encounters or whatever they see on Travel Channel or History Channel. It's not. They can only fit half an hour to an hour at a time on each one of those shows, and it's so cropped out.
Hold on 1 second, Sage. Put him back on there. There we go. Because Sage don't have a picture of himself, so Sage can be.
Yeah, it can be over here in the chat.
Is that your dog?
Yeah, this is my dog. It was my dog like 4 years ago. It's a Chesapeake Bay Retriever. It's basically a lab.
Yeah, it's a pretty dog. Starscream, what are you doing?
I'm sitting here. I'm being bored watching.
Are you in the Millennium Falcon? He looks like he's in the Millennium Falcon, Sage, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. I want to be in the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, no shit. I'd fly far, far away. You'd never see me again. That'd be it. I'd be hanging out in Mos Eisley somewhere.
Why don't I have an echo on this shit? Some stuff, sorry.
Bradley Calkins has this question. He's asked, I don't know if it was Bradley. Did you ask me this on an email? I think you emailed me this question already. He said, do you ever hear about an island where the vampire elders live? I'm pretty sure Brad emailed me that already. So, Scream, you're growing the hair out again?
You mean Nantucket?
Your hair?
I am. I was going to say, is Nantucket the place where all the vampires live?
Is that what you think it is?
I don't know. I haven't followed. I haven't checked on there recently. I didn't have the extra time.
So you're so pressed for time that you don't know that your hair is long as Christopher Lee's in Lord of the Rings.
I have not found a stylist yet down here in Houston.
Are you still down in Houston?
I am.
Wow.
Living the dream.
You're living the dream?
Yeah. How you been?
Good. How about you? So Beyond the Box says, Maddie, who is this fine man? I'm Josh Turner. Oh, you're talking about Saruman next to me.
Oh man, Starscream always gets the ladies going every time he gets on, man.
Well, you know when he was at the conference, people were coming up to me and they were like, some of the ladies that were there, and they were like, "Who is this guy? You know, he's weird looking, but he's strangely handsome." You know, and I said, "Well, I'm Wolf." You know, and they were like, "Oh, I was talking about the guy at the door." I said, "Oh, that guy. He's nobody. Don't worry about him. Let's stay focused on what's important, ladies."
I'm nobody.
There's a picture of my dog about like 2 weeks ago.
Mark says, "Why is his hair?"
About the dog. I want to see the picture of the dog.
It's not an issue at all. I just mess with him about it.
Yeah.
So Sage, Sage and me have been recording.
So how's yeah?
We were recording recently about the stuff in Washington.
Sorry.
Starscream, you need to go hang out in Washington for a little while, like I did, and go and see if you can run into a Bigfoot.
I could live.
Do what?
I lived there for about 2 years. Yeah, I lived out there for like 2 years.
What parts?
What parts?
2 years, I think.
What area?
Falls Church outside of McLean area.
Yeah.
Okay.
What years were those?
It'd be 2013, 2012.
No.
You want to know my eye color and like another family member too?
Yeah.
No, I pretty much know all about you already. We've known each other since 1997, so I've known you quite a while. Or was it? That was 98, probably. Was it?
Oh, don't remind me of the age. Oh, Jesus.
No, wait. You worked for me in 97, 90. Yeah, it was 97. I think it was in October of 97 when you.
It was 97, 98, 99.
Yeah, you worked there, for a while, and off and on. And Starscream got me arrested. I didn't go to jail, thank God, but they detained me.
Good job.
They detained me for quite some time because of his
always fun. Always fun.
Yeah.
Nice little silver bracelets.
You know what he did, Sage? The police already hated our guts because we were like the Bowery Boys down. They didn't like us at all. And there was this one cop, I'm not gonna say his name, but he had it in for me big time. And his partner really hated Starscream, and he also hated my brother. And of course, they hated Squid. They hated all of us. They didn't like Chico, any of us. So they pull up, and this guy's his night off.
I think they hated everybody on the planet. Honestly, they were just mad.
They probably did, but they really disliked the shit out of us with the rocket, right? So Starscream's standing there. And these popos pull up, right? And we're all standing out front. And Starscream's night off, which I don't know why you would go hang out at that club when you're off. Like who?
You really?
So Starscream stopped in, I guess, to have.
Are you seriously going to tell us right now?
Yeah. Yes.
So Tommy and him had a shot, and then he comes out, and he's already like 10 feet to the wind. So he yells at the cops. He says, "F you, pig," and then he gives them the finger.
Hell yeah.
And so they are at the stoplight. And so this isn't really a crime, I guess, but they wanted to find some reason to jack us up. So they jumped out of the car and they ran up. And then they said that me and Squid were impeding their progress. Now, maybe we were because we didn't move out of the way. And that afforded Starscream a head start. So they were
scared the shit out of them.
So they arrested me and Squid.
I do appreciate that extra like 4 to 5 seconds. It allowed me to make a left and another left, and I think 25 years is like past the time. Like, everything expired anyway, so we're good.
Yeah, it is. And so they
I do appreciate that kind of like block right there. It's like the old days.
Pretty messed up. Here's a funny thing though. Like I ran into one of those cops several years later. And he had been fired from the police force because he had gotten in some trouble. Yeah, and you probably already know. But we were hanging out talking. We were at an academy.
You don't say.
Yeah, and we were at the academy, which is like a big sports
I feel shocked.
Down here in Texas. If you haven't been to an academy, you're missing out. They're really cool. They got a lot of cool stuff. This came from academy, right? Okay. So, anyways, I was getting a pair of shoes, and we started talking, and it was like years later, right? And we were talking about the old days, me and that cop. And he actually forearmed me in the mouth one time when they arrested me for littering. They couldn't find anything on me, so they arrested me for littering one night. Threw me in the paddy wagon, and when the braces were behind my back,
you probably deserve that. I mean,
damn,
weigh everything.
Yeah, at least
I probably owed a few on you, but something like,
you know. So he elbowed the shit out of me. So anyways. He sees me at the academy, so I guess maybe I don't know. Maybe he was afraid that I was going to hold grudges or something. He bought me a pair of shoes. True story. Bought me a pair of shoes, football cleats, because I was playing in a contact
What
flag
kind of shoes?
league. They were Nikes, but they were just football shoes. And I said, yeah, I'm playing in a contact flag league, and he paid for them. So that was nice of him, you know.
Huh.
Nice of him.
Yeah. Very nice. At least they didn't shoot you 40 times.
Yeah.
He just shot this guy locally by me. He had a warrant out for his arrest, and he didn't listen to their orders, and 5 cops shot him 40 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think back then, though, if they would have shot me, there would have been a lot of problems.
Yeah.
You know, that's my
Yeah.
And definitely.
Yeah, but no. So what do you think, Sage? You know, in that area, do you know the area that Starscream was staying at?
That's over on the west side, if I'm correct.
The west side. You're on the west side.
Yeah, I'm over on the east side. He was
So
closer
you
to.
don't know what spider crickets are, do you?
No.
Wolf, you ever heard of those? Okay.
Oh, sun scorpions? Wind scorpions?
No. It's actually called a spider cricket. Where? Look this up. Yeah, you can look it up. It's right there. So I go with this first week. I guess I'm there in the. It's you got like McLean Falls Church. You got the Tyson's Corner Mall, and I go open up the storage shed, and it was like a straight scene out of a horror movie. About 1,000 spider crickets were there, and they jumped out because I was trying to find a place to store the boxes. So I'm freaking out because I've never seen anything like this. It moves like a spider, it jumps like a cricket. The spider cricket, spider cricket, North Virginia. Yeah.
We're gonna call them crickets.
Yeah. I still freaks me out to this day.
Was this a real thing or like a figment of your imagination, Captain McNuts?
Yeah, Captain McNuts. I'm looking this up. Right
I mean, that was real. Let me look. Yeah, let me look up. Let me make sure real quick because now I can't tell. It's right there. Type in spider crickets on your whatever.
Yeah, camel crickets.
You use to look up information these days. Yeah.
You've been frozen. You're frozen in time, right?
So they were quite. Oh, that's because I switched over. Sorry, I didn't have the tab open right now. Assumed I was watching. That's actually a pretty good that's good service right there. Service, we don't want him with the guy who was on the Zoom video and didn't have his pants on. So, I threw your tab over here. I'm listening to Wolf, and I got over here, and I've got somebody's trying to pay off their college, and I'm like, hi.
So I have a question.
You're frozen. What position did you get to be frozen in?
You mentioned Virginia. Do you mean Washington, D.C., or do you mean Washington State, like Seattle, Washington?
No, it's D.C. Yeah, no. So you got Washington, D.C., and you've got.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm like Seattle, Washington.
Yeah, he's up in Washington, the state.
Sorry. Oh, sorry.
Cascade Mountains, yeah.
Man, I'm in space. Bro. I don't even know where to go. This one's going in the fucking logs.
You know what's crazy? That apartment complex that you used to work at, or that you used to live at when you were back in the 90s off of Burnett Road. So get this. They tore it down.
Yeah.
And now it is another complex, and that place is haunted as shit.
Wait, you talking about the crackhead apartments?
Where people lived yet?
Yeah.
Y'all got to give me a list.
Yeah. Yeah, and I remember when we went to
there was one off of what was it, Far West Boulevard, and the other one off of Burnett. So I can't remember which one.
Burnett Road, and that place we had the account for a while. Okay, right. They rebuilt on it, and it was a very haunted place. Yeah, we've had some weird stuff happen over there.
That would probably make sense because I'm pretty sure some people got killed right there. It just gave me that kind of area, The first day I was there when I was like 18, I was, buying, cookies at 11 o'clock at night.
You were buying cookies.
So, but cookies, yes, cookies.
Yeah.
Is my audio off? It seems like off. I'm watching you. I'm like, is there a delay?
Huh.
Yeah.
Or is this vodka is really good?
You're drinking vodka?
Out of a Atlas mason jar, yes.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Do you have to work tomorrow?
I mean, yes, eventually. What time is it? It's only 11. We're good.
Okay.
That's
Just checking if you're going to be able to get your ass up and go to work.
Actually, I am. I'm going to give you like another 5 minutes, drink some water, some, then I'm going to get up in the morning and I'm going to run a 5K.
So we have camel spiders up here, aka wind scorpions.
Oh, I forgot the story.
Yeah, we get camel spiders up here.
Yeah.
So
What's a camel spider? I don't want to click on another tab now that everybody heard me talk about the old porn shit.
Same thing that what you were talking about. Basically, they call them camel spiders.
They're freaky. All right. So imagine like 1,000 jumping out at you. I'm a shed. It's like a shed out here in Texas. Like I open the shed, throw a box in there, it's outside of it. But you open this, and it's a scary movie. I forget his name right now. Who's the guy that directed the moon landing? Who's the guy that directed the moon landing?
Stanley Kubrick.
Somebody's gonna get pissed. There you go. Somebody's gonna get pissed about that one. I know.
Why? Because you think that they believe that that the moon landing was real? Do you believe that it was real?
I'm hoping that's real because there's like 250, billion planets out of that, and you split on the ones that are within the habitable zone, the ones that are close enough to have air or what we consider air, oxygen, food. If we're the only ones here, this universe is.
Yeah. Sean is right. He says in the movie The Shining, one of the scenes.
Shining. See, that's the one I was thinking about. Yeah.
The Stanley Kubrick faked the moon landing. Yeah, a lot of people believe that. I believe that. I believe that it's fake, and I believe that when he gave that interview, he was being completely honest. People are in cognitive dissonance, and they're so willfully ignorant. They're like, no. He was just saying that. He was drunk and not saying things correct. But yeah, no, he really did say that it was bullshit. What do you think, Sage? Do you believe in the moon landing?
There's a lot of things that don't add up to the moon landing. So no, I don't believe it.
Like what? Wait. Like what?
How did they film it? How did they make a phone call back?
I want to hear it. I just want to hear. I'm like that. No, like.
If we can travel to the moon, why can't we do cryo freezing and cryo resurrection and travel to other planets? Why can't we do hyperspace? Like we have phones in our pocket that I can talk to someone clear across the nation, other side of the world. Why can't we go to another planet already? I have a lot of questions.
Yeah. I can put a nuke on somebody's head from like 1,400 miles away. Like within 2 feet. I get in the elevator. Hello. I can lose my signal. Yes. Well, the main thing, is whether or not you could freeze cryosleep. I don't know. It's hard to keep the human body functioning. It's kind of built one way, though, but I don't know the math on that one. What was the other thing you said?
How come we can't go to a planet? How come?
Oh, right, hyperspace. So I don't know. I go with I gotta go with Einstein. All the smart guys that read the folding space. You look at how we produce power. It's a joke. Like we burn fuel like monkeys. Like we haven't really gone that far. We've packed it. We start looking at fusion, cold fusion, all that kind of stuff. So we got to get this place called 0 point energy, where we actually pull the natural energy out of the air because it's there. So we get the energy, the lightning sound. Have you ever seen a lightning bolt strike? You know how much power is in that thing? And they're not like, yeah, you can't track it, but you can absorb the energy.
Yeah, I mean,
we're missing a lot from this planet just simply because we're humans.
Yeah, space is supposed to be like sub-zero freezing, and how come we can travel out in space to the moon, but we can't go to another planet? Like, there's a lot of like questions I have. Like, why are we not colonized Mars already? Like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
How come we haven't gone past our solar system?
Who's going to volunteer for that?
I mean,
it looks cool on TV, right? Like I'm going away to colonize, but you're going to a planet, so high chance of death, small chance of survival. Cool as it is, by the time you get there, your body's will be wrecked from whatever is the zero gravity in the space and sleeping. So now you're talking about years, months, what have you.
So what do you think? Do you think that the aliens are from
you're committing suicide? Planet? Not suicide in that nonsense. Here.
I think we have.
But you're like becoming a new person. You're accepting that fate that you have.
Do you think that there are aliens from another planet, or are they interdimensional?
Are you asking me, or
I'm asking whoever? I'm asking over here, or you, whoever wants to answer.
I believe there's aliens. I believe we have the technology to travel to other spaces. They just won't use it. I think that they are interdimensional at the same time. I have a relative that worked in the Air Force at a certain office of special investigations. I'm not going to divulge everything they told me, but yeah, we are being visited. Mm-hmm. And there are meetings, and there are people that are in control that are not human. But
I mean, that's obviously not surprising, and that's kind of part of the course. Like you can't tell mass amounts of people. Like, look what happened in America when the lockdown was happening. We ran out of toilet paper for like what, a week, and people were they're having fist fights, punching people for toilet paper. Imagine telling people like, oh, by the way, we're just part of like some experiment. We've kind of being grown, and they're kind of see what's going on. By the way, the Earth may flip over one day and we'll all die. So I mean, it's cool. Like literally, me, you, everybody else. Like, why am I going to this effing job? Why am I paying these taxes if it's all useless?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
I get it.
So let me ask you this though. For you two, hold on, Starscream, you focus yourself. I know you're drinking.
I'm drinking too. I'm drinking Angry Orchard.
Focus your mind.
I've only had one.
All right, so Starscream,
I've had
focus yourself. Okay, I'm going to ask you both a question.
Just don't give her a prayer.
Just focus yourself. If you were to find out tomorrow, now for us, it's probably not the same. That's why I want to make a distinction here. People in the chat here, we already know that aliens exist. But like, what if they came out yesterday or tomorrow, and they just said, "Hey, by the way, aliens exist. There are millions of them, and they're all over the place, and they're walking amongst us." Would it matter to you? Would you still go to work? Would you be one of those people that's like, "Look, I still got to go to work. I got to pay taxes. I got to do what I got to do. I got a family to feed." Or would you want to try? Would it make your mind kind of go off into another direction? Confirmation. 100%.
I would ask why. Would be the first question. Why?
You would ask why.
Why do you allow? Like, you have this plan? Okay, yeah. And we're looking at yes. Let's look at the happy path, the good path. I work and I pay my taxes and I got kids and a house and all that. Let's look at the negative path. I'm a kid who was abducted and now I'm sold into some kind of slavery at some place. And I spent 20 years or 10 years getting passed around. When we think about these life things, we're like, hey, we're here. We think about from our perspective. So if somebody did create all this, that means they would have had to knowingly, willingly create the negative. So if we were all powerful, I created someplace all powerful, right? Mm-hmm. And I knowingly created this level of evil, and that's not even like the absolute deepest level of evil. You and I both know that. And Sage, you probably know, but we see people held like low the human psyche can sink. Why would you allow that? Why would you allow such beautiful things along with such evil? Or is that the point? To see which one is just a giant game. Is that how growth happens? Is that the point of life? Everybody wants to know the question, why? I don't know if it's 42, but it's got to be something, right?
So, I personally
I feel like
already.
Yeah, from the 80s. Sorry.
Oh, you can go ahead.
You feel like
keep
what?
going.
Max Headroom. Anybody alive during the Max?
Okay, Sage, go ahead and say what you were going to say.
So, the question is whether or not I would go on about life, if we were being ruled by aliens and all this other stuff and aliens existed. I mean, in my own personal theology, religious theology, I believe that there's a spirit being that does rule this planet that was once a human, and therefore he's an alien, or he was once some type of humanoid being, so therefore he's an alien now, and that there's infinite dimensions. But I mean, some people call that guy the creator. So
you think that God was once a human?
I believe that God was once a humanoid of some form, may not be human, but we are created in his image. So does he have toes and fingers and a body, and at one point body of flesh and blood and all this other stuff in his image? It's a weird thing to interpret.
I always wonder about in his image.
We say, what do you define in his image?
We hear his image. Right.
In his
What
image.
is it? What is it? Is it what he wanted, or what he created, or what he thought?
Yeah. So in his image, we create an image.
You ever seen it's like I'm on a far too movie here, like the real quick. Tron, where they have to stare at the mirror and the guy creates one. He thinks it's the perfect system, and yeah, I know Disney, whatever.
Yeah, so we're creating some being's image, and this some being apparently created us to have toes, a brain, lungs, a heart, a blood system, circulatory system, oxygen that's carried by our blood to different places. A body that decays and breaks down.
Dude, I got like arthropods that can go 2 miles down, and their bodies can glow, and that's what I want to know about. How come I didn't get that? I would love that.
We have this divine creation that creates something that gives us light, but also gives us cancer. Something had to create this that had this inspiration, but also maliciously wants to test us. So I believe that something created this planet, or something inhabited this planet, created our beings. And I personally believe that it is an alien being. But I also call that alien being the God of the Bible.
Oh, I mean, guys.
So you're talking like the demiurge.
Well, no, I don't think.
So
they're all the same. For me, it's always look, religion falls into the way that the universe is unfolded. If you look at it, you look at the 47 different Abrahamic religions they have, all have the same flood myth. It's not a myth. It's a story that was told by 47 different generations of religion. So no, religion is part of the human growth, and it's there to give us some kind of moral compass or a compass to follow.
I'm not a Scientologist, bro. I'm not a Scientologist. I'm a Mormon.
Oh, you're a Mormon.
I'm not Scientologist. I'm just talking about if you look at things like logically,
is this guy a Scientologist?
No, I'm a Mormon. Let me check out my freaking beard.
Hey, if he is,
I'm just not a good one.
I have a couple friends that are into Scientology. One of them is still in it, and he's pretty high up. He's out in California, and he's kind of nutty. I like him, but he's kind of weird. But
I like everybody's.
He's kind of known. And
we gotta have everybody's opinions.
I don't totally, I don't know. I mean, and then I have another friend. She just started doing it a couple years ago. I told her, get the F away from it. Because the thing that people don't realize about L. Ron Hubbard is that what he said was he really admired Aleister Crowley and considered him a very good friend. So if that's your friend, dude, then I mean, but then again, Starscream is a very good friend of mine.
But here's the thing.
Look how nutty he is. I mean,
what is Lucifer is what to Jesus? Lucifer, I ask, what is Lucifer to Jesus and God? Remind me.
In Mormonism?
Just because you around somebody or must have deal with somebody doesn't mean you gotta like it.
Yeah, but in Mormonism, they call him his brother. But if you think that God created everything, and created Jesus and and Jesus exists up there as a spirit or as a divine being.
I haven't read the manual. Nobody's giving me the manual.
So according to Christianity, everyone's like, oh yeah, Jesus
when I get the manual,
up there.
like the actual manual, like he comes down from.
Yeah, according to the Bible, according to a lot of Christians, Jesus is up there next to God. So if Jesus is up there next to God,
which Bible?
The Holy Bible. So if Jesus created, if God created,
we got the Holy Bible. Then you got the other ones. You got the ones that were actually reinvented by the Catholic. You got the ones that were done after the Holy Crusades. You got the one that's the Ethiopian Bible, which actually had this story of who's that dude that takes off like the. So I didn't know which Bible, which word of humans do I need to get my mantra.
I mean, whichever you pick at this point, but and the theology of is who's Satan to Jesus. I mean, when you think about Jesus being created by God, and God created all these angels and all these beings, and He also created Lucifer as an angel. Wouldn't all those creations of God or previous humanoid figure be brothers and sisters in a way? Absolutely.
I don't know who created God. Who created God? We as Christians
just put Jesus as a higher being. Now, God could have been created by the divine council of beings. That's a theory out there.
I like that comment.
Yeah.
But then he wouldn't
put this on my LinkedIn. No, that's sorry. Let me get the screenshot there.
But
so are we in the paradox here where humans create God, God creates humans create God creates humans? Like who? Okay, somebody had to create first. It's chicken and the egg thing.
No. Hold on. Now I'm going to explain.
The ultimate deity. Call it what you want. What come from?
Now I'm going to explain to you too. Here's what I think.
Yes.
We talked about this on the show. AI is literally was something that was around before us.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also created it because time is not linear. It's linear here, but it's not linear. It is absolutely not linear. Yeah, your arms are still skinny, dude. Look, so here's the thing. I'm actually surprised as big as you got. You used to be such a skinny kid.
I was listening to you. I was listening to you. I was just like, oh, let me look at myself, see if for you, I'm trying to get you donations. So just, hey, if I like to throw it.
Well, it's not working. Maybe if you were like, just quiet right now, that might help. I love you, man. We've been friends for a long time. All right. So here's the thing. Time is linear down here, but it's not linear anywhere else. And I can tell you this is the absolute truth. I'm not joking. We actually create things that end up turning around and creating other things. And then it comes back like a loop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The infinity symbol is very, very potent. In the Far East, in particular, Far East culture, it is not only is it considered to be time as a loop, but it's also considered the symbol of prosperity. Prosperity in the way that you prosper through the infinity of time, because the longer you're in time, the more you gain. You gain everything, right? Knowledge, wealth, whatever. And so I believe that the Far East, they have it correct. That's how it is. Far East, they're correct on that. That's my opinion. Takayashi says, PRT, I'm not a millionaire. Takayashi, you got to jump on for just a few minutes. I know it's getting late for you, but you got to jump on and just give your opinion on this. I've recorded with her. She's got a very good take on.
But see, I have a question about time. What? How do we track? We're tracking by like solar cycles, right, or planetary movements, or some. But we try to create that ourselves. How do we?
Okay, well, I'm talking about time as in the universe. Like we know the universe is 12.6 or 12.4 billion years old, something like that. Earth is 4.6 billion. It's a long time.
How do we know? How do we know that?
Well, we believe that.
I mean, we don't know that.
Yeah, but there is a lot of like proof that can say, hey, science. If you're a science guy, and I like science, right? I just don't agree with it all the time. But in Scream, we've had these conversations before. Okay. But if you were to take time, and
that's why I'm being cool about it.
The planet, you would be looking at light years, not Earth years, because Earth years are about the sun and the rotation around the sun, right? Right?
Let me ask you a question real quick before we go further down.
So
you know that within like this whole political crap, there's a lot of BS, right? So what prevents that from being filtered into our scientific community, our architecture community? What prevents all that disinformation from one stream between people, between what we're actually being fed?
I'm not really understanding the question. Speak English. What is it?
Basically, what if? I mean, have you actually looked at the numbers, the math, everything else? Have you been on the planet? Have you been able to track the universe?
Yeah, of course.
We're basing all this because what? We have a bunch of scientists who validate themselves. Who's like we cannot trace.
So you're asking me if I've been off planet. Are you saying like a copious amount of narcotics that'll make you fly out into space? Yeah, probably.
We theorize nobody's been to the center of the freaking planet. Nobody's been to the center of the sun. We don't know.
There are beings that live within the Earth.
Good guesses.
No. I'm talking about there are beings that live within the Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And there are people.
I'm talking about I don't want to talk about celestials. I'm talking about.
Okay, so I don't think we've dropped the episode yet, but there is an episode that I'm dying to put out there. We've already recorded, but the guy, we call him Izzy. Right?
Oh, I want to be on this.
But he actually came out of his body, and he's one of multiple people who've said this, and they saw the way the planet actually looked. They saw the star systems and what they really looked like, and he was a witness to it. He was a Swedish guy, or Norwegian, maybe he's Norwegian. I don't know. I got to go back and look. But he actually saw this, and this is one of a multitude of people who've actually seen this. And I believe this because I've been out of my body and I've gone beyond the planet that we think is a planet, and it's round, but it's not globe like people think it is. Not from what I saw. Now, I'm not saying I'm a flat earther because I don't know, but I know what I saw, and I know what a lot of other people have claimed they have seen. And time does not work the way that we think it does. That's 100%. And then there are so many people who can attest to the nature of reality because they've had OBEs and NDEs. Because one of the questions, and anybody who's ever been interviewed by me knows this, I always ask everybody if they are an abductee or if they've had an NDE or an OBE. That's always something I ask. So that's my opinion.
I've had an abduction and I've had NDE.
Yeah, and we talk about it on the show.
Yep.
So Sage knows that. I've interviewed him, and
we got 5 episodes total.
Yeah. Joe, what are you doing tonight? What's going on, Joe?
I was just listening, and I just kind of want to chime in my own theory of things because there are some questions about multiple dimensions, God, and the way I like to put it is, if we think about what God is, He's eternal, and most of us accept there's such thing as eternal properties, energy,
Mhm.
matter, neither created nor destroyed. But the one thing we tend to leave out is consciousness. We know where matter came from, we know where energy came from, but where did consciousness come from? It's something that
Exactly.
also can't be created or destroyed. It just exists. And if you take all three and combine them, you got an eternal entity that could create everything.
Yeah. Kind of
And that,
egregoric, right?
well, yeah, the analogy I like to use is think of our universe or our existence is in a computer box, and then God is the programmer outside the computer box, programming, creating everything in it. He controls and manages everything in it, but he's not beholden to the rules that he set inside the box.
Yeah. Yeah, and weirdly, I mean, there's so many different avenues that you could go down when you start to come, no pun intended, think outside the box. When you start thinking outside the box, then you start to realize that there are many different things, many different avenues that we could go down and explore, because alien life is really just us, you know?
Yeah, it could be other creations, that
All right,
we've given
Starscream.
other names.
All right, we'll let you run, Starscream. So Starscream's having a fever dream there. He's a so Paranormal Roundtable, who I don't know who that is. It's actually saying that because I'm not in control of it right now. It says maybe consciousness is emanation of God Himself, like an avatar, which is why Scripture says the kingdom of heaven is within you. Yeah, very possible.
Oh, he knew you before he created you, so that's
Exactly.
something interesting there.
If you look at it from the Buddhist perspective, there is a Godhead, and then there's all these different aspects of God. That God is, there's all this, and we can't quantify Him, and we can't put Him into a box and say that God is like a man, because He's not. God is not a man. God made Christ as a man so that we could understand, Takayashi has a question for you. Joel, do you think God or consciousness is the cosmic egg, or do you think it created the cosmic egg? I wonder this frequently.
All right, so is it like the chicken and the egg question? But for me, God, I would say He is not just consciousness; He's existence itself. I mean, that His very name means existence. So, uh, like Josh said, we can't put Him in a box. He for something to always exist is something we couldn't really comprehend, but we accept the fact, like I mentioned before, energy and matter. We've done the science. We confirmed, okay, it's cannot be created or destroyed. It just changes.
Mm-hmm.
The one of the interesting properties of God is He does not change. He's the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Therefore, that's a unique property to Him. Where with us, our consciousness can change, our minds can change, our paths, our ways can change. So I would say He's the source of all things in that respect, but what sets Him apart from the rest of us is not just the eternal properties, it's also His consciousness has the eternal property where it remains the same, doesn't need to change.
Yeah. And it's interesting to think about how what we were talking about time. If the universe is roughly 12 billion years old, according to what science has shown us, which really they don't know much, but then the Earth is 4 billion years old, then when God created the universe, it was 8 billion years, 7 to 8 billion years later that He created the Earth. Then there was a lot going on for a long time before Earth was created. But
Well,
according to Genesis, it says that God hovered over the face of the deep. that the earth was all water, basically. And he decided that he was going to do something with it. And we are like his footstool. Interesting. And it says that in Enoch, and we talk and we start going back into the Tanakh. And Joel, you're Jewish, right? You're
Yeah,
Jewish.
we talked about the Book of Jubilee as well. If you remember that conversation where it talks about how when he created all that, he did it in front of the spirits, the different spirits of darkness, spirits of the hoarfrost, spirit of fire, all the angelic beings. The term they use is ruachim, which means spirits, but it was not angels at that time. So he did it in the presence of the ruachim, the creation of the world, and they rejoiced. And there is passage in the Bible that says, when he created the foundation of the earth, the sons of God rejoiced. So there was definitely creation before us. There was definitely probably a civilization before us, because when the fallen angels, the Watchers, taught the humans how to do war, makeup, all the technological teachings they gave us, herbal medicine, and even witchcraft to an extent. It says it was the secrets of heaven they taught us. So they took technology and secrets from heaven and taught it to mankind. So that means they taught us culture, they taught us civilization, they taught us technology. So that means that was there before we even started our first civilization.
Yeah, and that's very interesting that the war in heaven, when it talks about the war in heaven, there was a rebellion. This is not the Watchers. This is something different. This was, a lot of people theorize that it was Lucifer and that he fell before the Watchers came, and that they would have been the Titans, Kronos and his guys. And then when the Watchers came, would have been Zeus and his people, and they actually fought. And that would have been where we get the Greek mythology.
Yeah, the Titans versus
we
the
touched on that
Pantheons.
too in one of our recordings. We talked about how similar it is to the Greek creation myth, where the primordial gods would have been the fallen angels, the Nephal, which would be the Titans, would be the Olympians or the Titan gods, and Nephilim would be like the Olympians, and the Eliud would be more like the smaller size demigods and monsters.
Yeah, demigods, and as in the Eliud would be kind of like Achilles, Perseus,
Hercules,
Hector,
any kind of
Hercules.
fey creature, any mixed breed like centaurs, anything that's a mixed breed of animal, human, or Nephilim, because the Eliud were born from the Nephilim. The Nephilim were born from the Nephal, and the Nephal were born from the angels and women. It says it's 3 distinct races.
Yeah, and we get into that when we record it together. It's interesting to me too, like when you watch the story Clash of the Titans, right? It's basically the story of Perseus, who is one of Zeus's sons, and then he fights Calibus, whose mother had been in her temple. I forget who it was, who his mother was, but she was offended, right? And then she took revenge for her son by using the what is his name? Not the Leviathan. What do they call him? Kraken. The Kraken, right? So then you start looking at this story, and one of the things that it shows Calibus doing is killing the Pegasus. So he would have been another version of these beings that were the Nephilim's children, right?
Yeah.
And then he was killing the Pegasus, who were winged horses. And those are stories that are passed down and passed down and passed down. And then eventually they just become like myths, like legends or whatever. But we know that there are myths, like the myths of the Dogman in Michigan. That's a myth. That's a story. But yet there's over 1,000 sightings in the Manatee National Forest alone. I know this. And in the NADP, that's a group that actually tracks down and keeps track of Dogman. And I'm going to have a guy I'm going to record with pretty soon that's part of one of the chapters. And I know that was a very hotbed area that I was trying to get information out of was Michigan and Wisconsin. And the person that was in charge of it didn't like me. So she was not letting me look at the files. And so we had all kinds of problems. But Jody Cook's a good guy. I like Jody, and Jody did the right thing and helped me out. And we made our deals. And I got to interview and talk to and work with a lot of people who've seen Dogman. And in Michigan, that became a legend. And I interviewed this one guy, and I'll never forget this. His name was Grant. He's deceased now, but he was an old guy. And you know what he told me? It was a very interesting thing. This is one of only a handful of people I know that have ever seen centaurs. And you know what he told me? This is what he said. And this is Grant's opinion of it. And some people may know who I'm talking about. But he goes, do you know why the centaurs don't exist like they used to? He says they're not around like they used to. And I asked him why. Well, this is what he says. He says, King Lycan, who was the first lycanthrope, right? Which he was actually someone who experimented with lycanthropy, and he was punished by Zeus for that. Zeus being Samyaza, right? Supposedly, this is what Grant said, and I'm not saying I believe this, but it's an interesting story. I think it's interesting. But he told me, he says, I'm going to tell you this. He goes, this guy's 77 years old. He told me this. This was back in 2019 or 20, something like that. It was 20 because we were already going through the whatever. And so he told me, he says, what I believe is that these centaurs fought a war with the descendants of King Lycan. And he wasn't really a king in the way that we think. He was a scientist, right, who experimented on himself, and he did incantations and drank blood, right? And he ate the flesh of people.
So he was an alchemist.
Yeah, and he ate the flesh of people to make himself become whatever, and he changed. And because he drank the blood of the innocents, including children, according to this guy, Zeus, the head guy, whatever, punished him. Like he went to admonish this guy, right? Because he was a demigod. He was the son of like Artemis and somebody else. I don't know. But he admonished this guy, and the guy tried to trick Zeus himself in the flesh. And so he became very angry, and he cursed him and said, well, if you want to be this, I'm going to make you that. And so he was sent to work like his people that were in his kingdom, which it was a Greek city-state, right? It no longer exists. And I think they were Argosian or something, but they were sent as slaves to work in salt mines. And they ended up here in the Americas. And they eventually became a tribe when the Watchers were knocked down. And so it's an interesting story, but he says that the centaurs lived nearby in a mountainous area with a spring, and they were inner earth beings, but they came to the surface and were living there. And these lycanthropes who were turned into these race of monsters by this scientist, right? And that they actually killed the hell out of each other. And he said that in his life, he had seen 2 centaurs near these caverns in Michigan. And one of the things he thought that he really believed this till the day he died. Like I interviewed about 2 months before he passed away. And he really believed this. He said, this is a matter of history. It's true. This is not myths to me. He said that he believed in that, and he believed that there were all these different beings that came here that were like the descendants of the Parthians, the Persians, all these different people, and that they lived here in the Americas. And then when the Watchers fell, which would be the Anunnaki, people say, oh, they left. No, they were taken, and punished. They left all of their work behind and all of their mess and all of their people and all of their whatever. And this one particular tribe became lycanthropes, and they taught that ability to these other native tribes, which were Egyptian descended people from India. Now, here's the weird thing. You would think this guy is off of his freaking rocker and he's talking all kinds of crazy shit until you do your research. Then you start talking to other people and you find out that the Aztecs may have actually come from Wisconsin and moved downward, right?
Well, yeah, if you think about it, maybe like the antediluvian world was the Pangea. So it's all one supercontinent, and then it would explain why there's all these pyramids located where they're at, and some are underwater, and maybe the story of Atlantis being is a myth that passed on, that was a pre-flood world, the golden age that they're all trying to go back to, these occultists.
Yeah, absolutely, because this is the antediluvian, the pre-flood world. What ends up happening? These beings, these creatures, they survive, right? And they spread their bullcrap everywhere. The Aztecs had the god of the underworld, of the dead, Xolotl, who looked like Anubis. People to this day still see, what's up, Beans? You see you there. Still see Anubis and all these other things. And I wonder, because the late Linda Godfrey believed that the Aztecs had come from Wisconsin because of the corn, and they had these weird totems that they would find. And eventually they went all the way from the north down into Mexico as the ice had receded and changed the climate. And they wanted to be in a warmer climate. So they kept going until they found Mexico City, Lake Texcoco. And then that's where they settled, but they never stopped doing what they were doing. But get this, the closest DNA relatives to the Aztecs are the Tamil culture from south of India. That's crazy. When you look at their DNA, it's very, very similar, right? So then you start going and I read an article about that. It was either Smithsonian or Discover or something. I read all these science mags, but I read that and I thought, this is crazy, right? So this old kook, Grant, maybe he's a kook, maybe he's not, but he had all these weird views. But there's another guy in this field that shares that view with him, several actually. One of them who was on our show one day, and I didn't get into getting to question him about that, but his name is Robert Kreider. And Robert Kreider posted a big old long thing on his Facebook one day, and I read it, at least most of it. I didn't have time. It was long. And Robert talks about these. This being the case. Cooper, what are you doing? Cooper, what are you doing, boy? What are you doing? You just come from outside playing? And so it's interesting. It's weird when you first poo-poo these things, when you hear these people talking and you're thinking, well, this guy, Cooper, don't do that to my fan. My border collie, he's so smart. Cooper, don't do that. He didn't like the fan for whatever reason. So you start talking to these people and you start thinking, man, these guys off of his rocker, until you get other people who can kind of corroborate this and believe the same thing and say that the ancient Persians and the Israelites and all these different people from all over the world actually came to the United States. Because if you start comparing apples to apples with these different natives, some of them are Polynesian, some of them have East Asiatic roots, and some of them don't. Some of them have Middle Eastern roots or Indian roots or even Egyptian roots. And some people see weird things, like the guy that claims that he was in the Grand Canyon, and I was talking about him earlier, and he went through the wall of the Grand Canyon while some weird-looking creature was stalking him. So he panicked, and he ended up going up into a cavern. He's got a wild story. Maybe it happened to him, maybe it didn't. I don't know. But the thing is, he claims to have seen what he thought was Egyptian, but when he started describing it to me and I started looking it up, it was actually Persian and Babylonian and Egyptian. So what the hell was going on there in the Grand Canyon? And why were those beings, why was that there? And why were these people that he claims to have seen the mummies of 10 feet tall? I mean, and why was this dogman creature so determined to block him from going to, I think, from finding that entrance? But after he found the entrance, he got away from this creature because the creature went to a certain point and stopped. Like it was not going to go any further. And then some weird stuff happened to him in there. It's a wild story. I'll tell you the story eventually, folks, but it's a weird story. I don't know. And this guy could just be full of shit. He could have the best imagination in the world and should be writing books like Dean Koontz. I don't know. that could be with anybody. But I tend to think that some of these people, like Grant, really believed what he was saying. He believed this, and he believed that the centaurs were hunted and down and killed by the descendants of Lycan, which is actually King Lycos or Lycan, whatever, depending on who you ask, and that they were his descendants, as in not really his children, genetically manipulated people by something that had infected him by way of his trying to deceive the head watcher. And then these children of his, and then they go to war, not really so much go to war, but they prey on and kill and eat these centaurs. And that's why you don't see them around anymore.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I forget if it's Enoch or Joshua Jubilee. I forget which book, but it does talk about the Archangel Raphael was commanded to cause confusion on them, and they started turning on each other and eating each other.
Mm-hmm.
And they started going to war with each other, which is an interesting concept, because I think you've told stories of Dogman and I guess a reptilian creature fighting at one point.
Yeah, that happens not like infrequent. I mean, that happens especially near the reservations,
Yeah, I think maybe they're out there fighting each other because, maybe certain food sources don't come along so often, or it's a territorial dispute. They may be intelligent, but they're still I mean, if you look at the demonic entities that they might be, not spawned from, but demonic entities that exist, they have their own territorial disputes. So it wouldn't be far fetched their living counterparts will have territorial disputes.
Yeah. Yeah, and it goes back, like when we were talking about Rimfan, I can't remember who it was I recorded with or who I was talking to. I've interviewed so many billion people, but I was talking to somebody. I know it was a guy named Stephen Riley, or I shouldn't say his last name, but I don't think that's his last name. Or no, I got it backwards. So a guy named Riley who gave me a story, and I'm not gonna say whether that's his first or last name, but he gave me a story which was interesting, and he was talking about Tiamat being like a cosmic being, right?
Yeah,
now we know the story of Samaria it's like she was a dragon.
A dragon or a planet, however you want to spin it.
But she was so big, and but the Rimfan is the same one. I mean, not the same one, but the same thing. He's like a giant cosmic being. So Malak would have been like one of the, he's either one of the fallen or he's one of the watchers, right? Malak. But he would have been descended from him. Like he would have been like Rimfan. Interesting. One of the ideas behind this, and this is somebody's idea. This is their theory. And I want to say it's Rob Yox, but I'm not 100% sure. But they said that Rimfan was actually the vessel, the vehicle, right? That they arrived from, and they worshipped it because it was their planet. Okay, and Richard just jumped in. Here we go. Let's see what Captain Blackpill says. What's up?
So you're saying like it's Nibiru, and then because there is a story where Nibiru clashes into Tiamat, destroying it.
Yeah.
And then that's the asteroid belt we have, and then Nibiru's planet X, which is the one planet supposedly in our that orbits our solar system every so often.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's so weird because like Tiamat was supposedly avenging her husband, but if you're talking about beings the size of planets, right? And what if the planets are kind of like an orb? Joel got kicked off. I hope Joel comes back. But what if the beings are like the planets are these beings, right? Hold on one second. There we go. And Joel,
Rimfan is Saturn, right?
Well, yeah, you said it before I could say it because you're a douchebag. But yeah,
I know. Sorry.
Where did you go? Did you go to Tim Hortons, or are you talking to?
No, I was talking to somebody there for a bit, so I didn't realize tonight was the call-in show.
Well, it's not typically. That's why we only have 280 people in there. But it's because we started doing it because I couldn't put the story together and get it all. I didn't have time to mess with it today.
Gotcha.
I had a lot of work to do and a lot of things. I was very just busy and a very frustrating and hard day, and I don't want to get into it. But so what ended up happening? We're going to talk about it tomorrow. We're going to get into it tomorrow, and it's about Anubis. Well, and Anubis. There are multiples, right?
Yeah.
Here's the question I got for tomorrow's audience. So, is Anubis a race of beings? And if it's more than one Anubis, is it Anubis but just in different timelines?
Or maybe it's the dog is the father of the Dogman, because we always hear about them going in and out of the earth or phasing in and out. And you hear NDEs where you see Dogman eating souls in inside the earth. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Well, haven't you ever seen that meme where the jackal-headed dog is working the door at the nightclub and everybody comes in saying, hi, Anubis, and it's the other one?
No.
Yeah, there's supposed to be two of them on the Egyptian pantheon, and it's got one's got like a three-worded name.
You got me, man. I don't know.
3-worded name or 3-letter name?
No, it's like 3 different words. I can't remember what the frig the name
Maybe
is.
that's in your timeline.
Could be. Hold on, let me go and check what is.
Yeah, go ahead and look it up, see if you can find it.
Yeah.
Before I got dropped, back to the thing, you guys said the planet Saturn. Is it possible it was the planet Nibiru? Because I've heard of stories or versions of the story where when the Anunnaki supposedly came, they started some beef with Tiamat, and the planet Nibiru smashed through Tiamat, and that's what created the asteroid belt. Or sometimes Tiamat was referred to as the planet Rahab. Yeah, so to me, I think Tiamat is a destroyed planet creating that's possible, yeah. But the prevailing theme, like what Richard's talking about, is that Saturn is Remphan. And the six-pointed star was the star of Remphan, because it says in 2 Timothy that they're not to use that star. But you and I, Joe, we went real in depth about Judaism and the different types and all of that, and very interesting stuff coming up and about ancient history. Interesting to me when you start getting down and really going down deep into that rabbit hole. And depends on how hard in the paint you want to go. But Saturn could be the prison planet of the fallen, the Watchers. But it could be it could be a holding cell for Lucifer and his house, as in those that followed him. Not all of the 72 that fell with him and all of their minions, their houses, which is their legions, but like him in particular in his house, his main house. And he could have been like the size of a moon himself, and then he was in prison, and that's why you got that big black hexagon at the top of Saturn. Now you have this weird anomaly that shows up there, and even NASA is confused by it. So you don't really know what that is. But if you start really digging down deep, aliens, Dogman, Bigfoot, it could all be. Now, according to the Sumerian tradition, Tiamat is the one that created the hairy man, which is Bigfoot, and then did all of this other weird genetic manipulation in order to fight a war, building its own legions to fight a war with the murder of her husband. And of course, that is Marduk. But are these planets, or are these beings that came from those planets? And were those planets actually just giant vessels? And is the moon one of those vessels? That's another question, because here's an interesting thing, Joel, Richard, I don't know, Sage, if y'all are there, but think about this.
Here.
Because we know that Saturn reflects off of the moon, and we have somebody in the audience, Puck, who actually worships the moon, because he says, you don't understand, mate. You don't understand. No, I understand that it's actually not moon worship. It's the worship of Saturn, because Saturn actually reflects off of the moon, and people don't realize this. Do yourself a solid and don't listen to it with your headphones in. Don't do that. Just listen to the sounds of Saturn and tell me what you hear. What in the hell is that? Right? But don't put it in your ears and block out everything else. Do not do that, because the brain waves, it'll come in as waves, right? And you won't hear it pure. If you put the headphones in, you will. Don't do that, because I don't trust Saturn, because Saturn is actually Satan.
Exactly.
But if you listen to the sound of Saturn, it is freaking weird. Very weird.
It's scary.
It is.
Well,
but the moon reflects it. What if the moon was a ship? What if these ships are giant versions of orbs? Like we eat these orbs and these dogmen fall out of them.
Yeah.
What if these ships are actually orbs?
Well, Takayasha has an interesting thing on the comment there where they're giant conscious creatures, right? Planets and moons. I mean, that could be possible. I don't know. I mean, you hear multiple stories there in the near Earth where it's a living darkness there that pretty much dominates the underworld there. That could be very possible because, like I mentioned before, like according to Jubilee and other books, even the Bible, when it talks about the hosts of heaven or certain type of host, they talk about something that has a spirit that rules over it, that is in charge of it. Like I mentioned before, you have a spirit of fire, darkness, light, all these different type of spirits that are angels. I mean, maybe the moon has an angel or a spirit assigned to it that pretty much dictates its movement and the way it rotates around us. So
you just quoted Enoch, and Enoch tells you exactly what's up with that they do have angels that are attached to them, that the stars that fall to earth are angels, and that the stars that are up in the sky, some of them are heavenly bodies and they're pushed around by angels, and other ones of them are angels. Like, I don't believe any of the planets except Saturn have any shape or form. I don't believe in planets. They're lights in the sky.
Yeah, lights in the sky. But here's the funny thing: until you start to really go down that deep rabbit hole, right? Then it starts to actually make sense that what Book of Enoch is actually saying. People will dismiss it because they said, "Come on." According to what we know about the cosmos through astronomy, and I took astronomy in college, but people say, "Well, this is actually this planet, this is these lights and that lights." Interesting. According to the Quran, and I'm not Islamic, but they have a hadith where they actually talk about the jinn and where they come from. And they come from the Kaf, right? The Kaf actually is the green mountains. They call them the Emerald Mountains. The land where they come from is covered in green mist. It's green. And that's interesting because Venus looks like that, right? So what if Venus is really, that's where they come from, is that particular vessel, which is it's like a vessel, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting when you think about that. Like, what if that is where they come from? But there was another group of beings that were here before the Jinn, and they were called the Jinn. And then when you start looking at the Jian of China, which are the immortals, then you hear the word Jan from the Middle Easterners, in particular the Kurdish and the Persians, the people that we're blowing the shit out of right now, the Persians. They actually call them the primordial beings. And then Jesus often refers to God, his Father, as the pre-existent one. When you look at the translations, he says the pre-existent one. In other words, before existence was a thing, there was his Father, there was God.
Yeah, the eternal existence, which he's the embodiment. If existence had a personification, that's him.
Yeah. If the personification of existence, the light, right? The light, the opposite of the darkness. And we're hearing more and more about the black goo. There was a video that was released years ago, like 15 years ago, and there was a girl talking about a guy who tried to kill her, and she was saying that He had black goo coming out of his eyes. I just watched it there. My wife can tell you. She was watching a video about this true crime thing.
Hey,
And
I'm gonna get off this stream.
You're
I'll
going.
catch you guys
Okay,
later.
Sage.
See you, buddy.
Yep, later, later.
We'll see you. So then you got the black goo, which I think correlates to dark matter, because we're like, oh, it's out in space. We know it exists, right? So what if that is what that's from? But then the black goo creates this. It is basically the prison. It's the black cube. Saturn reflecting it onto the moon, creating a matrix around our Earth. That's a theory that was posited to me by Takayasha. And I really believe that that is a possibility. She says, Josh, I have a friend who did a lot of research and found a connection between lichen bloodlines and Venus. I don't doubt that, because it's all connected. And when people start telling me, when I was in college and I didn't finish school because I'm smart and I dropped out and became successful. But when I was in college and was under the spell of, oh, you need to go to school to be smart, whatever, I was in astronomy, and I told a professor that I believed that astronomy was history. And he applauded me for that. I said, it's history. It is, you're looking into the past. You're looking at history, but you're also looking at science and whatever. And then I had another teacher, and I was always really good with numbers. And I said, mathematics explains everything. But then you come across these equations that do not. And then you come across words, numbers, phi. Phi. Why is phi important? Phi is found everywhere in nature, which is odd. That number comes up over and over again. You got the golden ratio. It's weird. You start finding these numbers that keep coming up, and you're like, why is this? And then you have some equations that don't equate. You can't solve them. They're unsolvable. That's because those are holes. Our science is like Swiss cheese.
Yeah,
and
it's null and void.
Exactly. And Richard saying that these are angels. And now it starts to make sense, because the planets could be angels. They could be an existence, because an orb is really, when we die, I'm telling you, you will intermediately look like you, but like a see-through being. Once you go into the next density, past the fourth density, which is the next, you go to the fifth, then you start to become like a ball of light. Why is that? And why do people look like there's a cemetery?
Maybe you got to become that ball of light in order to cross the dimensions, because it takes an enormous amount of energy to break that dimensional plane.
Exactly. A plasma.
The pagans worship Venus as Lucifer itself.
So
Madame Blavatsky goes into great detail about it, about how Venus is Lucifer.
I personally think they're physical planets, because and hear me out here. The reason I'm saying that I believe they are physical planets, not just because science says it, but the angels, all the Ruakim, the spirits, all of them, they have to operate by certain boundaries and rules, right? So to have any physical claim or existence in our plane, they have to have a physical representation of themselves here. So think about it this way, for most of you who are Christian here, that maybe this will make more sense. For God to take the claim and the inheritance that was lost through the first Adam, he came as the second Adam, as Jesus, Yeshua, Yeshu, however you want to call him, and was able to take the rights and claim of the earth and the souls here when he did his sacrifice. He had to do it through a physical body here to play by the rules. So there's certain rules and guidelines they got to follow. That's why the devil, when he decides to try to take it back, he's going to send his own version of his Messiah. It's going to be the Antichrist, and it's going to be his physical representation to try to take that back away from Jesus, which is going to fail. But they operate in certain rules. Think about it. When the waters came down, they've had probably decades, hundreds of years, maybe even thousands, of them ruling the earth and doing whatever they wanted, until the four archangels, came before the throne of God and said, "Hey, They're making a mess down there. What are you going to do about it? And then that's when God was like, yeah, you're right. I already have a plan. Here, execute it.
Just look
It
at
is
this.
because they followed some legality that gave them claim. Their children with the women, they made a contract with the fathers and the women to have those children, and those children, through their children, they had legal rights to do what they did.
Sure. But all you got to do is look at them through a telescope for yourself. I have, like, up at my dad's cottage where I was there doing those couple of shows with you guys. They have a really powerful telescope there, and you can zoom right in on Saturn and see Saturn. All the rest of the planets are just twinkling lights in the sky, no matter how close you zoom in on them. You can see the shape and form of Saturn. You can see the freaking rings. You can see everything on Saturn, but that is the only one with shape and form. I'm telling you, I've looked at it for myself many, many times. None of the stars have shape or form. They're just twinkling lights, same as the planets. Actually, the name was Wapawet. Wapawet.
Yeah,
Wapawet. Of that other Anubis-like character.
Yeah, but that's not Egyptian. No. Mm-mm.
You sure?
I'm pretty sure.
Wapawet.
Is he Aztec then? Because I know either the Mayans or Aztec have like a Anubis-like figure.
Wapawet. Yeah, Wapawet. Wepwawet.
Okay, all right. Yeah, but Wapawet I thought was like a four-legged being. No. There it is. I just looked it up.
So am I like 85% right now?
I actually like to be wrong every now and then, folks, and when I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Wapawet. For some reason, I was thinking it was Sumerian, but that's Wapawet right there. Look at that. Look at the big brain on Richard. See, this is why Richard's my co-host, so he can correct me every once in a while. Originally seen as a jackal, according to some, as a wolf deity, and his cult centers around a being at Lycopolis, meaning the city of wolves in Greece.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Interesting. He says that his face was on pyramid texts, and this is distinctly different from Anubis. So that would explain why sometimes people see two of them.
Because they both each have their own jobs. That's what I'm saying. Like the Ruakim, whether these false gods or not, they still got to carry out a job. Like they were given a job, and at the end of the day, they still got to carry out the job, whether they're in rebellion or in obedience.
See, and I thought he was Greek. But it says here Lycopolis in the Greco-Roman period, and his name means opener of the ways, depicted as a wolf standing at the prow of a solar boat. And he's a wolf. See, that's the difference. I thought that there was only one jackal-headed deity, which is Anubis, but it says here he's actually depicted as a wolf, and his name is also Upawat.
Oh, okay.
So wolves are historically guardians and stewards, right? And the only reason I say that is because the closest thing I could, when looking back at my family lineage, the closest thing I can trace my family to is the tribe of Benjamin, which their flag, if you know what it is a flag of a wolf.
Wolf, yeah.
And they're the stewards and guardians of the throne. And in the time of the civil war between Israel and Judea, the tribe of Judah, which is Judea, where we get Judah and Jews, etc. The northern kingdom of Israel, which were all the other tribes, were trying to convince the tribe of Benjamin, the wolf tribe, to betray the Judeans. The Judeans convinced the Benjamites to side with them, and even though the Benjamites literally had a small slither of land compared to the other ones, they're like a force to reckon with, and they were made a steward for a reason. Because when that civil war broke out, it was the tribe of Benjamin that helping the tribe of Judah that pretty much whooped the other tribes' butts into submission when that civil war broke out, because they were the stewards and the guardians of the throne.
It's interesting here because he seems to be more of a wolf-like deity, and he was in Upper Egypt. And it looks like
Yeah, it sounds like a friggin' cynocephaly.
yeah, and he was in Abydos, Egypt, which is in the Upper Kingdom. Interesting. He says here they kind of closed it, and when they joined together, the two kingdoms, and he became the brother. Wapawet is often confused with Anubis. His deity appears in the temple of Seti the first at Abydos. In Egyptian art, Wapawet was depicted as a black jackal or as a man with the head of a jackal. In the temple of Seti, Wapawet appears to be of gray-colored fur, and he looked like a wolf.
Interesting.
And then sometimes he appears in fully human form, and that suggests a shapeshifter sort of whatever. But
The Native Americans have a shapeshifter. I think it's like a coyote, right?
Yeah. Oh, well, there's several. There's wolves. There's coyotes. I think it's interesting that because I thought that Wapawet was actually native for some reason, and then I looked it up one day, and I could have swore it was Sumerian. But now there's two. This is weird because not in my timeline. In my timeline, there was only one.
When you say Wapawet, I'm thinking Aztec or Mayan, to be honest. Cause
yeah, I didn't think Aztec, but I thought it was like something like Micmac or something. I thought I remembered or Algonquin.
How many snakes are on the pharaoh's headdress in your timeline, Wolf?
One.
Original timeline. Yeah,
original
mine
one.
too.
Yeah, and then there's another god that showed up. And I can't remember. Me and Anthony were talking about it. It's another god in Egypt that nobody knows who he is. He came out of nowhere. He's a scarab-headed god.
Okay.
I do not remember this guy, dude, because I did a paper on Egyptian mythology when I was in high school. I did one on Greek and one on Egyptian, and I named all of the major and minor deities of the upper and lower kingdoms and the unified kingdom, and the dynastic, unification. And I went over them all, from like, Osiris to Amun Ra. And I don't remember this scarab-headed dude at all. But if you look him up now, go look him up, folks. He's a real being according to this new timeline that we're in.
Yeah, so he's Khepri. I remember this.
Khepri, yeah.
Yeah, he's a beetle god, and I remember looking at it because I just thought it was weird. Like they got a scarab god. I mean, I understand the scarab and it's important, but I think he's like a sun god or an aspect of Ra or something, or a servant Ra or something. He has something to do with the sun. I just don't fully remember. I remember it was like a weird. Like, I mean, the Egyptians had literally a god for everything, like scorpions, serpents, whatever. They had a god literally for everything. As a matter of fact, the lamb was a god for them. So during Passover, when the Hebrew people were cooking up lamb for their Passover, they literally were smelling their god because that was not something that they put on the dish, just like the Hindus would not put like a cow on the main menu.
I didn't know there was a lamb god. I didn't know that at all.
That was a lamb god. That was
Interesting though. But I definitely am definitely have become intrigued with that. I'm going to have to look into that. But I just did not. I knew Wapawet, but I didn't know that he was Egyptian. This is weird to me.
Mm-hmm. Does sound like an Indian name though, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I thought that's what it was. But then I thought I looked it up, and it was Sumerian in origin. And I thought that was interesting because if he was Algonquin, but originally Sumerian, I thought that was the thread there. Like he had come over from the other side of the world, and they were workers.
Probably did.
Mining gold for the Anunnaks. But I guess he's Egyptian. But then again, he could be Egyptian, and then he could also be Algonquin because they had a wolf-headed deity, and I thought that it was Apu-Awat, and that's what his name was. But it says on there that Apu-Awat is one of his names. So that's interesting. Yeah. I'll have to go and do some research after the show and figure out what the heck what timeline I'm in now.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
I'm not
Because
joking, man. I've got some
No.
weird stuff going on, man. With
if
this
you're
time.
if you're looking into Egyptian gods, an interesting one is Geb. He's like a
Mhm.
weird version. He kind of, if you look into Geb, he's like the embodiment of Sheol or Hades
Mhm.
or Gaia or however
Yeah.
you want, whatever version of the gods you want to go with that are earth based. But he's a earth based god that's supposed to represent the earth, but he's also the keeper of the underworld.
I thought that was Anubis.
Well,
No.
so Nubis, I think he travels, but the gatekeeper, I believe, was Geb. Geb was like kind of like Tartarus in the Greek. Tartarus was a living being, but also a place.
Yeah.
All right.
Here's what it says about Geb, and I just looked it up, and I know exactly what he's talking about. It says Geb is an ancient god of the earth, fertility, and vegetation, serving as a foundational member of the Ennead of Heliopolis as the son of Shu, which is the air, and Tefnut, moisture, and husband brother to Nut, which is the sky. He was believed to create earthquakes with his laughter, and he represents physical support, agriculture, and plays a key role in the afterlife as guardian of the dead. He's seen as a protector of the deceased. Well, okay, if that's what he's doing, then what the hell is Anubis doing then? Because I thought he's the gatekeeper, right?
So Geb, it would be like Tartarus, and I would say Nubis would be like Hades.
Yeah.
Both
Yeah, because
underworld.
Tartarus and Hades are two different things. We've talked about that before.
Yeah, I
And it's
think these are
interesting.
all. I think they're talking. A lot of these cultures are all talking about literally the same creature or the same demigod, but it's just their cultural iteration of it. And I think that these same beings went to all these different cultures or were worshipped in different ways by these different cultures, but it's the same damn being. And a lot of these, like, there's an overlap between a lot of these things. Like how
Yeah,
all these.
but Anubis is not necessarily. He's not the. According to this here, I just looked it up just to make sure we were on the same page. He's not technically, according to tradition, he has a lot of knowledge of the afterlife, and he leads souls to the hall of judgment. You know, where he weighs the heart against the feather.
Yeah,
And
so
it
it's
says
like
that
a
upon the failure of
Hades
the star was
Tartarus
devoured by a
relationship.
beast and destroyed.
Yeah,
So yeah, you're talking about two different beings, two different roles.
Yeah, so it's like the same relationship Hades and Tartarus has. Hades is kind of like Anubis. Tartarus would be like Geb, kind of like what Richard was trying to connect them. I mean, even in Hinduism, they have similar gods that would connect with the Greek and the other pantheons.
Yeah, I think all these main gods and all these pagan religions, I think a lot of them are actually the same entity, just overlap, just different cultural iterations of it.
Yeah, like Odin and Zeus,
Yeah,
and I
basically.
forget the Hindu version of it, but they're pretty much talking
Yeah,
about the same Sky Father type.
yeah. How the Roman and Greek pantheons like overlap perfectly, but they're just different names and just change the story slightly to fit their culture.
And in Hindu tradition, Brahman is like all of the other gods are just aspects of him. It's his own, all of his split personalities, his own whatever.
Yeah,
He's
a Hindu friend
schizophrenic.
explained it to me. He says they, well, the way he explained it is technically they worship, they're monotheists in a way because their god, that their gods are in incarnations of their one true god or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So each god was like a representation or an aspect of their god, like you were saying, and that's how he explained it to me. I mean, for him, when I tried to bring him to Christ, he's like, "Oh, I'm cool with Jesus. He's one of the the aspects."
Yeah, he's Krishna.
Yeah, so
Krishna Kalik.
yeah, exactly. He said something like that. And I just thought it was weird. It's like, oh, so you believe in him as an aspect? And he's like, yeah,
Well,
whenever the world is true falls into true evil, a Messiah figure appears, and
yeah.
that's one of our gods.
And Krishna Kalik is the one that comes back because he's Brahma's son. Yeah.
Remember in the movie Pan's Labyrinth where the little girl's talking to Pan and she asks him his name and he goes, "Oh girl, I've had so many names over the years." Right? I think it's one of those where it's like this Satan archetype that's basically infiltrated into all the different cultures throughout the histories in a million different ways.
Well, even that word Satan Hashatan, that just means adversary. So
Adversary. Yeah.
there's many adversaries, and another word that is used is mastema, which people think is a being, and it's not one being. It's just there in the text. It's referring to one particular being, but it's mastema is again like Hashatan, where it's a reference to an adversary type creature.
Well, yeah, like in the Bible where it says Satan or the devil, it's referring to the strong man of the, like in the book of Enoch, it refers to 5 fallen angels called the Satans. And apparently the way that a Satan is defined is an entity, one of these evil entities that goes before God and accuses mankind. And it's Satan. It's the one they call Satan in the Bible does that, as well as the Assyrian does that. The Assyrian who is and they say the Assyrian was a tree in the Garden of Eden. So was the frickin' thing an ant?
Yeah. No, so in the Garden of Eden, the so-called serpent that deceives them, I believe it's the book Gad the Seer.
Yeah.
Which
Which is actually an Indian he's Jewish, but he's from India.
So no, so he was one of King David's seers or prophets.
Yeah, he was one of King David's guys, but he's the one that founded the Indians. What are they called? The
Koachim, but they were not that they founded, but they preserved his writings.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, because
and Gad the Seer, they follow
the books
Gad the
makes
Seer.
references to his prophecies, but then you don't read it anywhere, and they're the only ones with the actual copy. But in that book, it's Samuel who is named as the one in the garden, but then other traditions and other writings will call him Gadriel, which is why many Jews are wary of. I don't know if you ever noticed this. Whenever they say God, they say it without the O.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the reason for being that they hyphen the G and the D is because they want to avoid associating their version of God with Gadriel, which is the shield of God, which is another angel that is accused of being one of the serpents or the ones that deceived mankind in the garden.
Interesting too, because there's an inversion of that story too. That because we're supposed to have the knowledge, and that God, according to the tradition, that is the demiurge, and he's trying to keep us from the knowledge. So he claims that the angel that deceived was actually a bad guy and a serpent, a reptilian, but in reality, he was the serpent and he was the demiurge. And God, the true God, sent Jesus down to pull us out of all of this because everything else had been mishandled, And so there's all these weird theories and things about that. And Gadriel, like you were talking about.
Yeah, so Gadriel was the guardian of the garden. Mm-hmm. And I forget the exact thing, but it's like Samuel was the one that convinced him to go in the garden, let him go in the garden, and then Gadriel siding with him or something like that. And even the name Gadriel is a strange name because his name is, I think, it means the shield of God. So,
which Samael means the venom of God.
So and that would make more sense, him, Samuel being the serpent, but convincing. Remember, like whoever is the Satan that we're trying to point to, because even when we look at the word Lucifer, it comes from a translation of the Aramaic Hilal,
Yeah.
which means praise, or in the, I believe in the Hebrew it's praise, but in the Aramaic it means crescent, kind of like Allah, the crescent moon god.
Yeah, and it's weird because Lucifer was also the leader of praise and worship. I mean, he was the head of that. So his name would mean to praise God. It would mean that.
Hilal, yeah.
Yeah,
Halal.
but it also halal also means shining one.
Yeah.
That would actually be seraph.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
the,
and then halal, it also is a term for the butchering that they do, which is holy.
In the Arabic, yeah.
Arabic, yeah, Arabic. Here's an interesting thing about Vishnu. Okay, so Vishnu is a principal deity in Hinduism, and he's revered by the Hindus as the protector of the universe within, get this, the Holy Trinity. I'm not making this up. Alongside Brahma and Shiva, this guy Vishnu, he's considered to be like the so it's kind of like the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, but they have their own Trinity, which is Vishnu. They call it the Trimurti, right? So Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva. Shiva is actually the consort of Kali. Shiva is a male. They're all blue. They're all blue skinned too. So is Kali. They're all blue skinned deities, right? Brahma is the Godhead, kind of like in Buddhism, right? And then you have Shiva, which is his right arm, is destructive, whatever. But then in the Trimurti, Vishnu is the protector of the universe. He's the one that they revere, like he's like does all the good things and keeps us out of trouble and blah blah blah. And he'll turn into one of these two entities, Rama and Krishna. Krishna being Jesus. So he's the guy he sits at the right hand, I guess, and Shiva is the destruction that sits at the left hand. But get this, Christ sits at the right hand of the Father, right? So Krishna is one of the incarnations of Vishnu. And Vishnu is kind of like a part of Brahma. They're all three are together. There's a trinity of them. And the right hand of Vishnu is Krishna Kalik. And Krishna is the one that's going to be sent back to get rid of all the bad stuff because of all the bad that's going on, right? Interesting. And then it says here, if you look it up, like in the Vedas, whatever, if you read them or whatever, it says in the books that he is depicted with blue skin, resting on the serpent Shesha. That's a serpent, and holding a conch, a discus, a mace, and a lotus. So that's what he does. That's what he is. Very weird stuff. So you start to get into this kind of parallel to Christianity, and people don't like to hear that, but it is it's kind of like, if you took Buddhism and you married it to Christianity, I mean, I don't know. It's weird.
I would say the closest pagan religion to Christianity would be Zoroastrianism.
Well, Zoroastrian, though, to me, I don't really consider it paganism because the three wise men were Zoroastrians. Now, why would they be there? Yeah, I don't think it's really pagan.
So it's interesting because the Zoroastrians have a Trinity point of view. Mm-hmm. They also they have a version of the Holy Spirit. I forget what they call it. And then they have a all-knowing God. I think it's like a Huru Mazda or something like that. I'm probably butchering it right now. And then there's a counterpart that's
you're right. Yeah.
And it's just interesting how the Zoroastrians, I mean, they're pretty ancient people. That's a pretty ancient religion. Very few followers today, but it's just strange how I would say they're the closest in Christianity. Maybe they're like talking about the same thing as the Jews and the Christians, but just in their Persian name, which ironically with everything that's going on in Persia or Iran now, but they're very close to our beliefs.
Yeah.
They believe in the free will, like not to mess with the free will, and even their creator God does not mess with the free will.
Yeah, and in Zoroastrianism, when you walk the tightrope at the end of your life, if you fall to the left, you go into the fire. You fall to the right, you go to heaven. It's like it's heaven and hell. And,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
interesting that it was the state religion under Cyrus the Great when he freed the Jews from captivity, and they went back to the land of Canaan, i.e., Israel, and it was the Judeans. They went back. Interesting that they would take that monotheistic religion that they were living under, and that is the first appearance in 600 BC that we find the first appearance of written Jewish oral history, which is the Tanakh. And I think that they borrowed very heavily from the Zoroastrian religion. And that's my opinion. And a lot of people say, no, I would. Well, when you're enslaved by them and they had no written history prior to that, we've never found one scrap of anything written prior to 600 BC. And then when they return from captivity, then they write all this history about themselves. A lot of it looks plagiarized. I mean, honestly.
This is the only time not that I disagree, because to be honest, I really don't know. At the end of the day, we'll eventually all know the truth at one point. But and this is just my theory. Take it with a grain of salt. In the Book of Jubilees, it does talk about when Moses was on the mountain and an angel of the Lord was dispatched to tell him the history of the world. Which, like I said, it's a book a lot of people neglect because they kind of take it like Genesis 5, where it talks a lot about a begatting and the years and the separation and timeline. But it's a very important book because it's one of the few books that not only tells you timelines and when certain things took place, it also tells you when it all ends. It literally gives you the calculation time of when it all ends. Our epic or age of whatever timeline or whatever the age of we're living in, that gives you the calculation of when that ends. It's like a predetermined number of jubilees cycles.
Yeah.
Before it all comes to a close, and it tells you exactly which cycle happened when, and it also tells about when Moses was given an angel to tell him the history of the world from Adam and on. He wasn't their witness. How would he know? Someone that witnessed it would have to tell him. Same thing with in Book of Jubilees, it talks about that, but it also talks about kind of end time stuff that sounds a lot like the Book of Revelation before the Book of Revelation was out. So it's an interesting read. If you ever get the chance, I would highly recommend it because it opens your eyes to a lot of things that we
You're referring
typically
to the
call
Book of Jubilee, right?
yeah, Jubilee.
Yeah.
And look, I typically would overlook it myself because, like, really, calendars, timelines. Why do I care? And it's like, well, that does matter a lot. That does really matter a lot.
Yeah, it does. Here's the interesting thing too, Joel, and so there is a Trinity that people were talking. We're talking about Zoroastrianism earlier.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
is a Trinity, and there actually are multiple Trinities. But the most important to me, and I had to say this, is the Ahuric Trinity, or it's not Trinity. It's called the Ahuric Triad, and it's composed of Ahura Mazda, and then Mithra, and then Apam Napat. Now, what's interesting about that, people get that really confused. They'll say Ahura Mazda Mithra. like that's all one word, and that's not correct. It's
No.
actually Ahura Mazda. Mithra means like the sun or justice, right? It's justice because the sun will set on your day. It's over, you know. And then Apam Napat is actually divine fire. That's the fire that you fall into. It's kind of like hell, but it's not really hell. It's a purification because in the Zoroastrian tradition, you fall into that fire because you're found wanting, and it is the divine fire of Ahura Mazda's judgment. Now, Angamanyu is the bad guy or whatever. Now, here's another one. There is a theological triad of Ahura Mazda, Spenta, Manyu, and Angra Manyu. Now, Ahura Mazda, Spenta, okay? That's a totally different like triad. Now, you got these multiple triads that are literally, they're kind of the same, but not really. It means like there are different ones. There's like good deeds. There's one that means like good deeds, one that means like words, and another one that means like good thoughts.
Yeah, so they talk about good thoughts a lot in Zoroastrian.
Yeah, and then sometimes it's identified as Ahura Mazda Spenta Manyu, which is the Holy Spirit, right?
Yeah.
But you have Angra Manyu, which is the destructive spirit, and that mirrors what we talked about with the Trinity of Brahma, Krishna, or Vishnu, right? And then Shiva, because you have Angra Manyu, which is the shadow self, the destructive spirit that goes to the left. You have Ahura Mazda, which is the Godhead, right? And then you have Spenta Manyu, which is the Holy Spirit, which is the power. To me, in the Zoroastrian tradition, my opinion, and the people can disagree if they don't want to agree with me, that's fine. But Spenta Manyu, the Holy Spirit, is sort of like the spirit of God that dwells within all of us. But it's also what, and this may sound controversial, it's my opinion, but Nikola Tesla had found in what he called the ether. Like it is natural good energy that surrounds and envelops us all. And it's something that the Lemurians and the Atlanteans had before they fought a war 3 million years ago. And it went on and on and on. Or they were together 3 million years ago, and then they fought a war 400,000 years ago, whatever. And then that would fall in line with when the rise of the Watchers came, you know, shortly after that, because there was something going on here. And then Lucifer was cast down, and I think that destroyed their civilizations. Interesting that people.
So you're getting into like pre-Adamic world kind of deal there.
Pre-Adamic world, yeah. And I'm thinking that the nuclear weapons that they use to wipe each other out, which would make sense that it would be in India, right there, in between India and Iran. There is a place called the Sea of Glass. It's green grass that has been turned to glass, and the heat needed to do that would be nuclear. So there could have been a war in heaven, and according to the Vedas, which I've read, actually says that they were killing each other and that they were blasted down, and that Brahman was attacked, right, by these bad guys that decided that they were going to fight Brahman and they were going to overthrow. And so then there was a war in heaven. Sound familiar? Then there was nuclear war, and Lemuria, India, which was Lemuria, these beings that lived here, they were blue. You believe it or you don't believe it. And then what happened was they fought a war, right? Get this, against the Atlanteans, and then they lost. But Atlantis was destroyed too because of the hubris of these beings in Atlantis. They were cast down. And a lot of people believe, including the late Edgar Cayce, the prophet, he believed that it was the Bimini Road that was found in 1966 or whatever. And he predicted that it would be found, and it was. And you can see there are plates. These are obviously roads right there in the Caribbean. Interesting stuff. Very weird stuff. And then when you start looking at all of this and you're going like, what in the hell is going on here? It starts to make sense. Then you start to see the correlation and how Zoroastrianism is really in the triads and the trinities mirror one another in the tradition of the Hindus. And then you start to go like, wow. And then it starts to make sense. You have the Satya Yuga, the Tetra Yuga, the Dwarpa Yuga, and the Kali Yuga. And we would round out the Dwarpa Yuga going into the flood. And then, bam, we're in the Kali Yuga, where all the bad stuff happens. And we are tiny compared to what we used to be. And we have only a quarter of righteousness in us. And eventually Krishna, i.e. Christ, has to come down and fix everything. Different names for the bad guys, but also different names for God. And get this, blue. There is something about this blue, and I have to say this. It's not just for Smurfs. There's a whole thing there. Azrael was the cat. Remember him? And interesting that he had that name. But Gargamel, he was always after the Smurfs. He wanted to ingest them because he said that they would give him infinite life. Funny, because you know what element is purification and makes you blue? Silver. Colloidal silver.
And
so then you start to put it all together and you're going like, wait a minute. I'm not the world's smartest man, but I think that if you put your brain to use, you can kind of figure some stuff out. And that's why people get so mad at me. They're like, you're taking my world and you're turning it into the real reality.
Blue is also like a high level of power too, because okay, let's look at hellfire for a second, right? When we talk about fire and brimstone, what is brimstone? Sulfur. Well, if you combine fire with sulfur, which is the hottest version of fire you get what? Blue fire. You get blue lava, right?
Yeah.
What's interesting also is, depending what books you consider canon or not, the throne itself is of God is described as a sapphire throne, a throne of sapphire.
Mm-hmm.
The tablets that Moses had was tablets of sapphire. And if you look at the description of in Revelation in regards to the throne, what people forget is that there's something of high level of energy or magnetic polarization there. And remember, they always say, he's in the most north, the most high place in the universe, right? Well, when you look in Revelation, the description over his throne, it says there's a rainbow that looks like an emerald. If you pause for a second and really think that through, they're saying there's an aurora above his throne. What looks like a rainbow, but looks like also like an emerald. Look at the northern lights. High level of energy.
Yeah, it's very weird. I mean, look at the breastplate of Benjamin. I mean, you're talking about being the house of Benjamin, and it was one of the priests. There were the Levites and the Combs, and they wore the breastplate, and it was supposedly, I guess, the breastplate of Benjamin, and it was like the different colored stones, because each tribe represented a different stone depending on your whatever tribe you had, and it was they each were a different color, and so these were the precious gems. And blue was very prominent. Sapphire. It's a very beautiful, yeah. So it's interesting stuff. I mean, it's very interesting stuff. And of course, we supposedly are being purified because it says, in the Bible that God is smithing us like silver, like a silversmith to purify you. And
refining us like gold.
Yeah, well, it says silver in the Bible, but I don't know. It depends on which one you look at now. It might say.
I'm gonna mess with your head. Which timeline are you talking about?
Yeah, but copper will turn you green. Silver will turn you blue. What does gold turn you? Who knows? I don't even know what it turns you. Well, it'll be interesting to know. But anyways, that's all the time. I got to run. I am well past due here to get off of here. But dude, it's been great. We've talked. And I hope people can get past the first hour or two, whatever, when we were talking, and Starscream comes on, and obviously it looks like he's having some issues there. Starscream, old friend of mine, guys, known him for years and years, worked for me for a long time, off and on, good friend. Yeah, So thanks for popping on, guys. Especially, monoatomic gold is white. It really is. But does it turn you white? That's the key. And now, get this. They are working with lab-grown gold. And people say, well, it costs too much and the energy it takes, blah, blah, blah. But the mines have become so dangerous to mine. And part of the world's gold still comes out of mines in Mexico. And silver has been hijacked by the cartel.
And they can grow silver too. So it's not like it's a big, like, whoa, no one's going to put the effort to grow it.
Yeah. But they're going to eventually probably have to, because even though it's pricey, it's probably not much more than making it in the gold mines. And so they just change a couple of elements, or a couple of the electrons, and you have.
Or diamonds, how they just use machines to like pressurize carbon material enough to create diamonds,
Yeah. Yeah, the gold process is a little different, but it's dangerous too, because you deal with cyanide and other things like that. But it can be done. It has been done, and the Japanese did it, and I believe the Portuguese did it, or somebody. And I think they're going to do it again. I think they're going to start using that as the new. And they said the cost it's not going to change much. It's about the same, So we may start seeing gold being made. And like everything, the process will probably become more streamlined and become more easy once more people are on board with doing it. And that could change a lot. That could change a lot of things. But I promise you it's not going to affect us on the layman scale here, because we'll probably still be paying the same money for it. But the rich people will do what they do with diamonds and hoard it and put it in drawers and keep everybody from getting
they're
it.
gonna use the excuse of the lab-grown gold and silver to push everyone onto digital currency, and then there goes the mark of the beast.
They're already doing that with everything, because now somebody asked me the other day about how the Fed prints infinite money, and they said, well, they just go and they print it out on paper. I said, no, they don't. They don't even, folks, let me tell you something. You think this is a joke? I'm not even joking. They don't even use paper money to print anymore. You know what they're doing? They're just adding digital. They're just making
numbers.
It's just numbers. They just rack up the numbers and say that.
There's a serial code that's on the dollar bills now. If you put a black light to it, you'll see it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's crazy. That's just it's a nuts. It's a crazy world. But here at Paranormal Roundtable, we're here. Like I said, we're late into the night here, and we're here with the real reality. This is what we talk about. This is what we do. I appreciate Joel coming on. I appreciate Captain Black Pill coming on over
You're
here.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and so thank you for educating me on Wepawet, because I honestly thought that was an Algonquin legend that came from the Sumerian belief. And here I was thinking that, and I actually said that at a conference, not one of mine, but at another conference. I referred to him as Upawat, and I thought that that's who he was. But that said that was one of his names. I thought that it was Algonquin. But it's interesting because I remember him coming from the Sumerian pantheon. But Sumeria, Egypt, they're right there together. They're both really
I
ancient.
totally thought it was like maybe something of Aztec or Mayan when he said that, because it sounds something like you would think of a like Native American origin.
It sounds like it. It doesn't sound Egyptian. But remember, too, we do have weird stories coming out of the Grand Canyon.
And that's what I was saying. That's probably where the crossover happened.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe I'll tell that story on Sunday. I'll have to go and look and get it all together and commit it to memory and spit it out. But we definitely got a show tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, we're going to do the Sunday show. We did the Monday show tonight. We're going to do the Sunday show tomorrow. It'll work out. We'll make it work. And tomorrow night, we will be talking about Anubis, Wapawet's brother.
Yes.
Or maybe Anubis and Wapawet, because this is weird. This guy that I talked to didn't say anything about Wapawet. He said that there's where Anubis is, as in there's plural, as in there's a race of these things. or they're from multiple timelines, and we'll get into his story. And if you want the prequels to that, it'll be on the members only where we recorded for that. So thank you for tuning in to another episode of PRT. I'm sorry that it was kind of disjointed or whatever, but I do appreciate Joel and whatever his name is, Captain Tim Horton here. What is his name? Captain DJ Good Times.
Black Pill McGee. Richard.
Yeah, Richard. He wants me to say his name that he goes by, but I don't like that. I'm not going to use that. I don't want to do that.
I think it's funny to change my name every episode as well.
So here's what's happening. We'll be here tomorrow night, 8:00. We'll see you. Thanks,
Amazing.
guys. I'll see you.
God bless. Good night, guys.
Good night, Joel. Good night, Black Pill. And that's it, folks. Like I said, it was a little unorthodox. We ended up I had to do it from my house because by the time I got to the studio, it would have been way too whatever. I need to stop and just start. What's up, Beans? I started doing the shows here anyway. The whole time, you guys didn't notice, but these dogs were banging up against me. The cats were banging up against me, and I was like, I'm trying to stop them from jumping up on the cat. Would you stop? So I was trying to keep them at bay, but they're my pets. So what can you say? Anyways, guys, thank you for tuning in. Thank you to those who donated. I know it was late. It wasn't like what I wanted tonight, but we got it done. Join the members, and I'll tell you why you need to join the members, because every Thursday we have either a live stream or a pre-record. Now, this Thursday I have to get an MRI, all right, because Wolf here has a messed up knee. And I still work out, and they're like, well, you might have a torn meniscus. I'm like, well, I'm still working out. And they're like, well, you might have to stop and get surgery. I don't want that. Please pray for me that the MRI goes well. And they just tell me, hey, it's just a little sore and you're old. Okay. And then they just let me go home. Right. But if not, I may have to have surgery, and I may have to, take a little bit of time. I hope not. I hope I don't take time off, anything like that, because I still want to do the show. I love doing it. And I also want you to pray for my wife. She's got some issues, health issues, everything going on. Please pray for my family. And I still believe we're under spiritual attack. People don't like us. I know it's hard to believe, but some people just do not like us. And if you ask them why, they'll give you a million reasons. Not one of them makes a lick of sense. They just don't like you because the archons tell them not to. That's why. And so that's just it. And they want to make up stories and bullshit about us, whatever. Let them talk. Who gives a crap? I care what they think about as much as a fresh bucket of hamster vomit. But that's it. That's what's going on. Please like and subscribe. We have a new channel, Dead Zone Transmissions. It's Nellie's channel. It's doing good. We're going to be doing a series of lectures and talks about geopolitics, science, history, economics, whatever, current events. And that's going to be on Random Files starting this month. And then not only Random Files, go subscribe to Random Files, but we have Paranormal Sound Table, which is where our music comes from. That's also Nellie. That's all her thing. And then remember, we also have our sister channel, True Crime Paranormal. And that dropped yesterday, the second of the third of the 3 episodes about Chris Watts and about the Chris Watts case. That was on Paranormal Sound Table. That dropped yesterday. And go check that out. We drop every Saturday at 7 p.m. 7 p.m. Saturday. Remember, 7 p.m. Saturday, True Crime Paranormal. Join the Patreon. If you're not on the Patreon, don't ignore you, dude. Join the Patreon. The Patreon is every Tuesday. We're doing Bigfoot and the nature of reality. And when we talk about Bigfoot, we don't just talk about Bigfoot. If there's other cryptids, ghosts, things like that in that area, we talk about. We get into the legends and the lore and the myths of whatever, and we go down into the rabbit hole and we retell people's stories about Bigfoot. This week that's coming up, we're doing Kansas. We did Missouri. Now we're going to do Kansas. And we're just going to keep going. And we did Colorado. We did Louisiana, New Mexico. We've done Arkansas. And we're just going around. And we're doing Kansas this coming week. So join the Patreon. You will not be disappointed. It's every Tuesday. I believe it's 7 o'clock Tuesday. 7 or 8, something like that. We'll let you know. and that is on the Patreon, and it gives you a swag bag, which is a merch crate, right? 10, 20, 30, 40, $50 tier. The different tiers give you bigger, better swag. Shirts, hats, hoodies, autographed books from me, different authors, different people, and just go check it out. It's a good deal, and you won't be disappointed. You'll get the extra show. And then, of course, members only. 1 week we do a live stream. 1 week we do a pre-record. We're going to try and do the live stream early at 7 because I got the MRI. I believe this. I got the MRI at 9:50 p.m. That's how late they do them. Yeah, I'm going to be the last one in there. 9:50 p.m. I got the MRI, so I have to cut out about 9 o'clock. But I'm from 7 to 9 this coming Thursday. I will do the live stream for members only. Okay? I'll see you guys. All right. Thank you. Good night.
I don't remember. It was something coming through the door. The whispered tears, yours or mine, but pain it will only find. Wounds and wisdom, body and soul. A lifetime journey into the unknown. A broken crown. Only to close my eyes. Turning around in me. Slow motion death, a caravan of ghost stars falling as we watch the moon fade. Bones and wisdom, body and soul, a lifetime journey into the unknown, a broken crown. I feel the river water washing me. All the beautiful things can't be free. In the distance I see the sun clinging to the last day. Wounds and wisdom, body and soul. A lifetime journey into the unknown, a broken crown. No pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. It was a beautiful war of flesh and bone against spirit and consciousness. The eternal you of memories in motion, to live once more and to die once more.